One starry night, a guy found himself deep in thought, pondering all sorts of personal questions. His reflections centered on work-life balance, the relentless grind of daily overtime, and a sense of gratitude for being able to work from home. He was currently inside a local convenience store. His aim was to purchase a favorite drink he enjoyed. Despite being a fully fledged adult, his appearance, thanks to his genetics, made him look remarkably like a kid. He was quite pleased because the drink he desired was alcoholic, and he really needed it after a long day of work. However, the cashier refused to sell it to him for that very reason, its alcohol content. He genuinely didn't understand what the problem was with his purchase. With an audibly annoyed tone, she stated firmly that they didn't sell alcohol to minors. He couldn't grasp why she perceived him as a minor, especially since he looked like a child, not even a teenager, but distinctly a kid. She then elaborated that they'd encountered many instances of minors fabricating their ages to acquire alcohol. He conceded it was a shame, but he was in no mood to argue and simply wanted to buy his drink. Subsequently, she demanded his ID, her expression remaining visibly gloomy. He began to retrieve it, grumbling aloud about having successfully bought an alcoholic drink just 2 days prior. But while searching through his wallet, a realization dawned on him. He had forgotten his ID at work, most likely. He then explicitly stated he was 27 years old, presenting his work ID as proof, and reiterated that he'd worked overtime today, which was precisely why he needed the alcohol. He also mentioned being a frequent customer at the store, but she paid no mind and proceeded to call the police. To avoid any further trouble, he simply decided to leave. He spent the entire walk home cursing profusely, frustrated that he hadn't managed to get the alcohol he so sorely needed. All this trouble was entirely because of his height and appearance. He complained that this had been his life's constant struggle. His height and youthful looks had perpetually felt like a curse. Standing at only 165 centimeters tall and possessing a cute face had always placed limitations on his life experiences. He was always acutely aware that he looked like a child. This was true back when he was in high school. It was true when he was enlisting in the military. And even during routine work checkups, everyone consistently made fun of him for his height. Indeed, because of his height, his life had always been difficult. Even when he went shopping for clothes, the employees frequently recommended children's clothing to him. In restaurants, staff often presented him with the children's meal instead of the adult dish he had ordered. And there was no need to explain how he failed to excel in sports due to his stature. His friends always made him the target of their jokes because of his height. But the worst part of it all was that he was consistently overlooked by girls, simply because he was too short. It almost seemed as though these girls deliberately aimed to make him feel small. All these persistent thoughts invariably made him incredibly mad. When he finally arrived home, he meticulously set up his top-tier gaming setup and then prepared himself for some serious gameplay. His plan was simply to play Dota or League of Legends, games that could even run on a, quote, toaster. He genuinely enjoyed this pastime, but then he found himself complaining about the smell coming from his neighbor's apartment, a constant smoke odor that deeply annoyed him. He opened his window hoping the smell would dissipate, but it was no use. His neighbor smoked an enormous amount. He angrily wished that the person responsible for the smoke would meet its creator due to a malignant neoplasm. He then decided he absolutely had to go and speak with his mysterious neighbor about the issue that was infuriating him every single night. He gathered his courage, determined to have a polite conversation with the mysterious neighbor, knowing he needed to approach the situation with civility. He was visibly shaking as his hand reached for the doorbell. But then something unexpected happened. A man suddenly flew out of the apartment as if he had been powerfully thrown by someone incredibly strong. The person responsible for the act shouted at him, warning him that he'd be in the other world if he ever returned. The man lay shaking on the ground in evident pain, stating that the mysterious person inside was incredibly strong. Even some concrete from the wall had fallen due to the impact of the blow. The protagonist was visibly scared, as this looked like something out of another world. He wondered if the man on the ground had actually fought a bear. He had no idea what had just transpired, and questioned whether it was truly safe to go over there and ask his neighbor about their smoking habits. After contemplating the situation for a while, and perhaps those birds in the vicinity told him in their bird language that he absolutely should not proceed, he ultimately decided that he couldn't give up now. He reasoned that if he didn't address it now, he might die of a malignant neoplasm anyway, so he had to ask them to stop, even if it meant accelerating his disconnection from life by being, quote, torn apart by a bear. So he arrived prepared with a gift for that person, the most expensive prime beef, hoping to appease the, quote, beast's desire for flesh and blood. He then gathered all his guts once more and pressed the doorbell. The person behind the door inquired, "Who is it?" He replied that he had brought a gift. Then the door opened, and he greeted the person standing there. That person snatched the gift faster than lightning and then slammed the door shut in his face, leaving him standing alone outside. He then tried to speak to the closed door, realizing the neighbor hadn't paid any attention to the tallest adult of the world. Seeing that his attempt had failed, he proceeded to file a complaint with the maintenance office and also waited for that impolite person to emerge from the apartment. But everything failed. That pervasive smoke became a daily problem, so much so that he could not sleep at all. After a week, the smoke consistently woke him in the middle of his beautiful dreams of being 170 centimeters tall and, for once in his life, being ugly. This deeply annoyed him. At 11:28 p.m., when he should have been fast asleep, the smoke served as his early alarm clock. Even if he covered his nose with papers, he could still smell the smoke. He was already completely fed up with the situation, so much so that he could almost see Ella Parka in his mind's eye, a sign of his extreme frustration. Then, he finally lost his temper. He simply could not continue living like this. He then decided to go to the neighbor's house, and this time, he would get what he wanted. He had bought this house with his entire fortune, and he would live under his own terms. So, for the third time, he gathered all his courage, absolutely determined to make his voice heard. The scene then showed a person who was actively smoking and simultaneously doing pull-ups. She was a notably strong woman. But then, the doorbell rang. She immediately stopped her workout, her demeanor filled with rage. The protagonist waited for her to emerge from her hideout. He thought to himself that he needed to be tough and reminded himself that he was the victim in this situation, so he had no reason to be afraid. Then the door opened. The woman, with an irritated tone, asked who the brick was that dared to interrupt her while she was working out. He instantly blushed. She was clad in nothing but a large towel wrapped around her. This made him incredibly nervous, causing him to tremble noticeably. Thinking she looked truly scary, he instinctively stated that he was scared. It felt like a puppy being stared down by a wolf. She then asked if he wasn't going to answer her questions, pressing him on why he wouldn't respond. He began to explain that he was her neighbor, desperately trying not to focus on her imposing presence. She took another step forward, purposefully moving closer to him, and asked him to proceed, by which point he was completely red in the face. He was extremely nervous at that moment, faced with such a commanding figure right in front of him. She then asked if he couldn't hear her, and demanded to know why he was there. He attempted to speak, and finally told her that he couldn't bear it anymore. And then he screamed at her, "Stop smoking!" Everything went silent for a second. He then snatched the cigar from her hand, simultaneously trying to shield himself, convinced she was about to unalive him. And she let out a small laugh. She then stated that she was glad he had come because she was starting to get annoyed. As she pulled out another pack of cigarettes, she asked if the one who had been yapping about her, smoking, was really him. She then asked what he was going to do if she kept smoking. He explained that the smoke always found its way into his room, and if she kept smoking, then she simply stared at him while lighting another cigarette, and then exhaled the smoke directly into his face. He coughed, and she then said that she smoked and challenged him to explain what he was going to do about it, asking what he could even do. After mocking him a little more, she explicitly challenged him to make her stop smoking. She then declared that she was certain he had no guts at all to do that, despite the fact that he had already gathered them 3 times to come here and confront her. She then pointed out that he was short and skinny. She then added that he looked like a kid, which deeply touched a nerve within him. A kid? This was the exact trouble he had been enduring all his life. He then recalled all the problems this had caused him, like having to carry his ID everywhere to prove he wasn't a child, and his so-called friends who acted like they didn't know him after being out, simply because he looked like a kid and they treated him like a toy. He also remembered the time he went for his job interview, and they actually wondered if he had lied about his age just to get the position. They had laughed at him, stating he would never be good at anything solely because of his appearance, or every single time he was overlooked by girls just because he looked like a kid. They would always tell him that he embarrassed them, always advising him to wish for better luck in his next life. This utterly enraged him, all those words he had heard throughout his life. And at this exact moment, it felt like the final drop that made the glass overflow. He then snatched the cigar right out of the woman's hand and demanded to know if she truly believed she could look down on him just because he was short. He then backed her against the wall, asking her if she really had the right to do that. He reminded her that she had asked what he could do about her. He then stated that if she kept smoking, he too would like to know what he could do. Then, by accident, he grazed her arm, and the towel shifted, revealing a glimpse of skin. He then saw it. He turned completely red because he had seen a bit more than intended. This made her angry. He quickly clarified that it was an accident. He then retreated to his apartment and, from his doorway, asked her again to stop smoking, leaving her standing there in the middle of the corridor, his His heart was beating at an alarming 100 times per second, convinced he was screwed. He fully believed that the bear he had as a neighbor was going to kill him for sure. But outside, that girl stood in silence, clenching her fist. She then grabbed her towel more securely and blushed, thinking that the man who had just gone into his apartment was a nuisance. She thought to herself that he was surprisingly bold, wondering what this new feeling she was experiencing right now was. Her heart was beating so loudly it felt like it could be heard from anywhere in the world, or at least he thought so. It was definitely a surprising encounter that sparked something new. Hidden nearby, another woman was staring at her. The red-haired woman wondered what on earth was happening, and she pondered how in the world Si-young had become so flustered, questioning if it was because of that guy, our protagonist, and she already had some suspicions about what that could be. Later, in the bustling city, the protagonist was at his job, looking at his phone. He was watching a video of a neighbor being injured as a result of complaints about smoking. This left him scared, wondering what he was going to do about his own situation. Then, he remembered the specific occasion. He questioned why he had reacted that way, recalling how he lost his temper when she called him a kid, and how he perceived her discomfort as if she were Eva. He tried to clear his mind and regain his composure, all while his teammates looked at him, seemingly wondering what the hell is happening to him. He felt anxious because she hadn't smoked since yesterday, leading him to worry that she might be plotting something. He couldn't stop wondering about his next move. Then, the vivid image of the man resembling a karate master, who was effortlessly thrown from the apartment and nearly hurt, flashed into his mind. He recalled seeing the man with seemingly broken legs after the incident. He definitely didn't want to end up like that. He started thinking if there was a way to appease the beast. Then, he remembered something important. Someone had referred to her as the Mapo grizzly bear. He immediately proceeded to search for that name on Toogle, a search engine he considered superior to Google in every aspect. He then paused his search. The screen displayed an image of her, a powerful woman, almost sending a man to God with just her fists. The comments section was filled with users questioning if she was truly a woman, and remarking extensively about her incredible strength. It was then that he fully realized she was his neighbor. He was overwhelmed with fear upon seeing this information. Just then, someone called him. His companion asked him why he was watching such a video. In a different location, his companion commented to the protagonist that he would surely lose to her, even if he used a baseball bat. The protagonist inquired if he knew her, and his companion confirmed that he had attended the same high school with her. He commented that one would need a heavy truck to transport all the people she had sent to the infirmary. The protagonist simply couldn't believe it. He stated that he had only managed to see her up close once. However, everyone who attended high school in Seoul knew her. Her infamous nickname was the Mapo Grizzly Bear, and her achievements included almost defeating all the neighborhood thugs. She was probably the most formidable person in the entire world. Thanks to her, he was never targeted by bad guys, because she had dealt with them before they could even think of bothering him. He clarified that she wasn't inherently a bad person, but she was incredibly hot-tempered. He advised that as long as he didn't cross her, he would be fine. The protagonist then proceeded to prepare to jump from the building to have a special meeting with the creator, alarming his workmate. His workmate desperately tried to prevent him from doing something so drastic. The protagonist, however, asked him to let go, arguing that this was better than getting seriously hurt on his cute little face. His workmate asked what was wrong with him and urged him to talk about his problems, despite the protagonist still believing that ending it all right away was 1,000 times better than any other option. But his companion firmly told him that it was not better. Also, the protagonist's name is Gang Chan, which is quite curious, almost sounding like a member of a gang. Back at the neighbor's home, a woman was meticulously fixing her nails and asked who that guy was. The strongest woman in the world was working out, stating that she didn't know him and had only just met him yesterday. It was a group of 3 girls. One was doing nail care, another was playing with a Switch 2, which the narrator lamentably couldn't afford, and the strong woman was lifting dumbbells. The nails girl asked if he was the guy who had been bothering her lately, and she confirmed it was him, wondering why he didn't just move if he was so angry about her smoking addiction. She then asked her friends for their opinions on the matter. It was then revealed that her name was Si-young Na, and she was 23 years old. She then stated that she wasn't attracted to skinny boys like him. She preferred strong guys, full of energy, someone who could potentially keep up with her. Then, the nail girl accused her of lying. This made Si-young blush. The nail girl commented that she was a terrible liar, because she had personally witnessed it. She had seen Si-young looking flustered and blushing while awkwardly close to the little protagonist, so she wouldn't believe anything Si-young said about it when she had seen it with her own eyes. It was then revealed that the nail girl's name was Lena. She was Si-young's best friend, and also 23 years old, so the narrator decided to stop calling her the nails girl. Lena then hugged her, asking her to be honest suggesting there could be something between them, but Seyoung insisted Lena was wrong and it wasn't what she thought. The other girl agreed with Seyoung. She put down the Switch 2, which the narrator still couldn't afford, and stated that Seyoung was always obsessed with her muscles. Therefore, there was no way she could ever manage to go out with a guy. This angered Seyoung even more, who demanded to know whose side she was on. It was revealed that this friend of Seyoung's was named Lin Yu, so the narrator would no longer refer to her as Gamer Girl or the other girl. Lin then reminded them that the last time Seyoung tried to help a little kid, the kid cried just by looking at her and wouldn't even hold her hand because he was so scared. Lin emphasized that Seyoung had never held hands with a guy before and had been single for about 23 years, which was also her current age. Seyoung then covered Lin's mouth to silence her, insisting it wasn't true. Lin then claimed that Seyoung was trying to turn that skinny boy into her boyfriend, which made Seyoung's face turn even redder. They then pressed her, wanting to know what was going on. Seyoung stated it was all a misunderstanding, while Lena continued to provoke her. Lena pointed out that Seyoung had nothing on her top when she was with him, implying that if there was truly nothing, she would have been fully dressed. And then Lena suggested that perhaps they were close acquaintances, making a knowing gesture with her hands. Seyoung was deeply offended by this accusation and demanded to know what Lena was talking about. She then kicked both of them out of her apartment, stating that she needed to work out. This made her face blush intensely, unable to control her racing heartbeat. She remembered how that little skinny boy had surprised her against the wall. She started to wonder why her heart raced whenever she thought about him, and she decided to work out even more, hoping it would help her process these feelings. Meanwhile, Lena and Lin wondered who that guy was and why Seyoung was acting so strangely. Lena thought that she had never seen Seyoung act like this before, and she was now 100% certain that something was going on between the two of them. Then, while licking her lips playfully, she wondered if he lived next door. With a curious gaze, she was now quite interested in him. She then considered visiting him. Later, the protagonist arrived home, being extremely careful not to be seen by her. He walked on the tips of his feet. He glanced everywhere to ensure he was safe, and felt relieved that he was alone and safe today. He thanked God that he hadn't run into her today, but he knew he couldn't maintain this indefinitely because she lived next door. He opened his apartment door, thinking about how much he had spent on this place, and now he was living in fear. He wondered what he would do if he couldn't avoid her one of these days. Then, a voice called out to him, asking if he was their neighbor. It was Lena. She asked if they could get to know each other better, and if he had a moment to talk, all while she was licking her lips with a mischievous grin. Later, she was utterly surprised by what she was seeing. She asked if he really lived in that apartment. She looked around, commenting that it was really different from her house, describing it as a rich man's house. The place was filled with all the comic books she had always wanted to read. It boasted a brand new air conditioner, a comfy sofa bed, and the latest video game consoles she had always desired, but couldn't afford because YouTube kept retaining her rightful payments. She was then surprised to see he had a console model that was never available in stores because it was always sold out. Her eyes filled with excitement, exclaiming that this was heaven. She then said that she wished she had the chance to live in a house like this. The protagonist, whose name, Gang Chen, the narrator had not previously written down, thought that she had just mentioned being his next-door neighbor. He then deduced that she must live with that big, strong woman named Seyoung, whom he was so afraid of. While she was examining all his belongings, he thought that the woman in front of him looked like a bubbly girl, and he couldn't imagine her being friends with a grizzly bear like his other neighbor. He wondered why he had let her in if he truly didn't know who she was. He hadn't seen any indication that the intimidating girl had sent her here. He felt worried, pondering her intentions for coming to his apartment. She then put down the manga she had been checking and asked the protagonist if he had been with Seyoung yesterday. This question immediately triggered an alarm within him. She stated that she could overlook the fact that Seyoung was not fully dressed, but she emphatically stated that she had never seen Seyoung act like that. She explained that Seyoung usually, quote, talks with her fist, then her mouth, and had never spoken to a stranger for more than 3 minutes. Lena couldn't believe she had talked to him for so long, and considering that he was a man, she was even blushing. Lena then sat down very close to the protagonist. She then stated that she was curious, and whispered into his ear that she wanted to know more about this man. She then proceeded to say that she had some questions she wanted to ask him about the smoking problem. But first, the protagonist then blushed intensely, because she lay down on his lap, saying that she was tired and wanted to rest. She then asked if that was okay. Time passed, and she fell asleep with the manga resting on her chest. The protagonist, blushing, wondered why she had fallen asleep like that. He knew she was up to something because she lived with that intimidating neighbor, but there was also the possibility that he was simply overthinking it. He really wanted her to wake up right now because her foot had been touching his leg. Then, the possibility of her trying to accuse him of being a pervert and reporting him entered his mind. However, the possibility that she wasn't doing it on purpose was still a consideration since she was currently sleeping, but it didn't seem accidental as her feet were touching him quite a bit. He then tried to carefully remove her feet from his leg, attempting not to wake her up. He was nervous but tried to remain calm as he wasn't doing anything inappropriate. He then gently took her foot, but then she woke up with a scream. This scared him. She then laughed a little and apologized. She revealed that she had actually woken up a while ago, which surprised the protagonist. She mocked him, saying that his reaction was very funny. She then stated that, thankfully, he didn't seem to be a bad person. This made the protagonist stare at her, wondering what she was taking him for. He thought that she was playing with him, and he found her actions very mischievous. He then asked her if she wasn't putting herself in danger by coming to a stranger's house, even if he was her neighbor. She replied that she didn't do this with just anyone. She moved closer to him, stating that he had a cute face and was also kind and shy. She then declared that he was totally her type, sitting in front of him with her face close to his. She then leaned even closer and asked him what he thought about her. In his mind, he thought he hadn't expected that, and he turned completely red. He then said, while shaking, that she was pretty and cute, but they had just met. He then observed that she created some distance between them. She said she was kidding and that he was too serious, leaving him wondering what had just happened. Then, their attention was drawn by a noise. They went to investigate what was happening. There, a woman had fallen to the ground, inexplicably holding a strawberry, along with apples, an orange, and a pack of cream buns. She then stated that she was there to get Lena. In the next scene, she was seen eating the cream bun. Lena then asked her if Si-young had sent her, and she confirmed it. Lena expressed surprise, thinking Si-young would have come herself. Lin said that she had told Si-young she was here, adding that Si-young's face turned red when she told her, and then instructed her to come look for Lena. Then, the protagonist interrupted and asked Lin how she had managed to get into his house. She simply stated that the door was open. Then, the protagonist took the bun and sternly informed Lin that she was trespassing, emphasizing that he could readily report her to the police. He also directly questioned why she was consuming his bread, to which she casually replied that she had inadvertently stepped on it, implying that if he was going to discard it anyway, she might as well eat it. She further explained that despite her unauthorized entry, she had not attempted to steal anything at all. She merely observed that the door was open and entered solely to retrieve Lena, and feeling hungry, she took a bite of the delicious bread. Subsequently, she earnestly begged him not to report her to the authorities. He then fixed his gaze upon her with intimidating, scary eyes, and she was visibly frightened by his intense stare. Following this, Lena moved closer, deliberately making friendly physical contact with him, and proposed that she could offer an apology on Lin's behalf. She asserted that Lin was fundamentally not a bad kid, but she admitted that her friend was simply not very adept at expressing apologies. She then very earnestly asked him to please forgive her for the transgression. Lena leaned in even closer, her voice soft and persuasive, to ask him kindly for his forgiveness. He responded by looking away, his face visibly blushing due to her close proximity and the situation. And, still averting his gaze, he stated that since they were all neighbors, he could let the incident slide, internally acknowledging that he simply couldn't bring himself to say anything truly harsh or negative directly to her face. He then turned his attention to Lin, pointedly stating that he was going to discard that bread because it had already passed its expiration date. This revelation immediately triggered an alarm of concern in Lin. She then asked, with a hint of confusion, if that wasn't pizza bread, and upon closer inspection, she finally realized that it was, in fact, a cream bun, which explained why it had tasted like such a strange kind of bread. Lena then interjected into the conversation, remarking that they hadn't yet properly introduced themselves to each other. She expressed her strong desire for them to get to know each other correctly and formally. Following this statement, she deliberately took off her overshirt and then calmly placed it on the floor beside her. Looking at him playfully over her shoulder, she declared that there was something she had been wanting to do for a while. This unexpected action caused the protagonist to blush profusely, his face turning a deep shade of red. She then directly asked him for his thoughts on the matter, inquiring what he thought of her actions. And, with a playful gesture, she touched her lips, clearly indicating that she was already contemplating something fun. The protagonist, utterly bewildered by the unfolding events, genuinely wondered what the heck was happening. Then, in the very next moment, both girls were enthusiastically engaged in playing Circle Fit, which was the equivalent of Ring Fit Adventure in this world. This was the activity she had wanted to try, and they were being incredibly loud while doing it. There was an image displayed, illustrating the gameplay of that particular game. Lena was visibly giving her absolute all in the game, exerting maximum effort, and the protagonist was simply observing, internally thinking that he hadn't actually expected anything different or less from her energetic personality. The view from his perspective was quite cool to witness, despite the unexpected nature of the situation. But then, his attention was drawn by the distinct sound of someone knocking on the door. He proceeded to go and see who it was, simultaneously wondering if it might be one of the other neighbors who had come to complain about the excessive noise they were making. He then opened the door. Se-young immediately grabbed him by the shirt and, without hesitation, called him a meddler. She then lifted him off the ground with surprising strength and demanded to know the whereabouts of the other girls. She then sternly warned him that if anything untoward were to happen to them, she was going to do something very bad to him. Following her threat, she loudly called out their names. She then saw Lena actively playing the game, and Lin was sprawled on the floor, declaring that she couldn't do anything more because she was already completely exhausted. Se-young was visibly surprised by this sight, as she hadn't anticipated them being engaged in playing video games. The girls then offered their apologies to the protagonist, who, in his mind, was still processing the fact that he had been almost choked. Lena then directly told Se-young that she should apologize as well. Se-young initially resisted, but Lena sternly scolded her, insisting that she should explicitly say, "I'm sorry," to the protagonist. Then, after enduring some additional scolding from Lena, she mustered all the strength she had within her. But then she suddenly shouted that he was the one who had looked at her first and, in a fit of anger, called him a lunatic. This outburst visibly surprised both Lena and Lin, and Lena immediately asked Se-young what was wrong with her and if she had lost her mind, then quickly told the protagonist that Se-young must simply be shy, and that was the sole explanation for her behavior. However, the protagonist stated that he hadn't expected her to apologize at all, given their previous interactions. He firmly declared that she had called someone she had just met a kid, and then proceeded to enter his house and almost choked him. He wanted to get some things straight regarding the situation. He explicitly stated that she was partially undressed, and if she had a tendency for undressing in public, then he was not the meddler in this scenario. She was. She asked, "What?" while her face took on a gloomy, menacing look, and he internally thought that she looked genuinely scary. She then pinned him against the wall with force and curtly told him to forget it. She then stated that he had complained about her smoking habits and suggested that they should put an end to their dispute once and for all. She then argued that she was smoking in her own house, so there was no reason why she should do what he said, especially since it was not illegal. She sternly told him not to cause any more trouble. He looked at her, thinking that he was very scared right now, but he was already utterly tired of her turning his house into a smoke-filled room. He then retorted that her stance was ridiculous. He asserted that predators never remember what they did wrong and emphatically stated that she had no shame. He argued that someone might mistakenly think he was the one smoking, and that living there was incredibly painful solely because of her. He told her that she should be apologizing to him, and yet she still wasn't. He then declared that if she continued smoking, he would assemble a committee or officially report this matter, but then she interrupted him, saying that he was getting too close, but he asked why that was important or relevant to the discussion. Then, Lena interrupted the escalating argument by holding his hand. She then commented that the smoking was indeed a problem, but as neighbors, they shouldn't fight, and proposed an alternative solution. He asked what that solution was. She suggested that if Se-young agreed to smoke outside, then they, Lena and Lin, could come to his apartment anytime they wanted. Se-young immediately got angry and stated emphatically that Lena should not be making decisions on that matter. Lena then explained their living situation, stating that they had no Wi-Fi, no air conditioning, no computer, and nothing else. She even mentioned that their washing machine was broken, and she reminded Se-young that because of her actions, they were at risk of getting kicked out at any moment if she caused any more trouble. Lin then added that if they were indeed kicked out onto the streets, she had nowhere to go. Then, after thinking about it for a moment, Se-young conceded that it wasn't like she was trying to torment him on purpose. She then looked at him, and he, in turn, averted his gaze from her. She then admitted that it didn't sound like a bad idea, while Lena was openly celebrating the potential agreement. The protagonist, meanwhile, silently wondered if he didn't have a say in this, as it was, after all, his house. He then considered the situation and thought that this arrangement was ultimately for the better, as it effectively solved the persistent problem of the smoke. He also thought that they wouldn't come very often, and since they were neighbors, he could very well get to know them better through this arrangement. Lena then declared that since nobody had said anything in objection, it was a definite yes. She then stated that they had better introduce themselves properly, as they would be seeing each other often from now on. She introduced herself as Lena Fox, stating that she was 23 years old. This surprised the protagonist, because Fox sounded more like a nickname than a formal surname. She explained that her mother was Korean and her father American, which was why she had such a unique name, and currently, her parents were abroad. She also pointed out the fact that her eyes were blue, and told him that he could simply call her Lena. She then stated that the, quote, girl's name was Seung-na, and she appeared cold and unfriendly. But, Lena added, she had the, quote, best strong presence of all. This comment enraged Seung, but caused the protagonist to turn red with embarrassment. Lena then proceeded to introduce Lin, describing her as the baby of the group, and the protagonist, in that moment, wondered when she had managed to take the ice cream out of the fridge. Lena then mentioned that they actually had one more housemate, but she wasn't currently there because she always worked overtime. She then held the protagonist's arm, stating that it was enough for introductions, and asked him if he was going to introduce himself. Holding his arm even tighter, she said that she wanted them to become better friends. He stated that he was Gang-chan and was 27 years old, adding that he hoped they would get along well. She then asked, in a mocking tone, if he was indeed older than them. Then, Seung realized with a surge of anger that Lena was clearly trying to make him pay her bills. Lena continued to hold him, looking at him with a friendly gaze, stating that she was, quote, just trying to make friends with him, while Seung, disgusted, told Lena to wipe that silly look off her face. Then, looking at him as if deeply in love, Lena told him that he could be more comfortable with them from now on, while he internally thought that she was scary, but for a very different reason than Seung. That's how he ultimately ended up accepting the deal. He initially thought that they wouldn't be there every day. They would just come a few days and then never return again. But he was wrong. They came every single day to play video games. They would come to watch him playing while enjoying manhwas and various snacks. They even came when he was doing other things, and he even gave them his passwords. His house and his fortune were no longer truly his. They now belonged to the three girls. It had become their regular meeting spot. He deeply regretted having accepted them in. But then, one day, something significant happened. It was a day when he had just finished working. He was in the process of returning home. He was already completely fed up with everything that had transpired and all the overtime he had performed. Those three girls came to his place every single day, and that constant presence had completely overwhelmed him. Just to get one day of rest, he had to leave his job early on the day they said they weren't coming, and he couldn't go back on the promise that was already made. But today was his own day, the day when he could finally rest from those three energetic companions who were draining his life. He planned on watching movies all day and playing some video games, just what I do every day, actually. He opened the door, determined to enjoy some time alone. But there she was, Seung, as if God had brought her to Earth. He wondered what on earth she was doing there and turned completely red from looking at her like that. She then threw him her towel and told him to look the other way. Later, inside his room, he was watching the computer screen while she was sitting on the bed. He thought that this situation was awkward. He hadn't expected to find her like that the exact moment he opened the door. He was informed that she was going to go to the gym today. This situation completely ruined his plans. He thought that it would be a good idea to apologize to her so that everything could be in a better mood. He then gathered all his courage again to offer his apologies. But while he was thinking that, she got closer to him and demanded him to get lost, saying that his face made her want to punch him, so it would be better for him to just leave. He replied that this was his house. She responded that she was there first and got even closer. Then she asked him if he wanted to spy on her again and called him a nuisance. She then said that she couldn't stand to be in the same room with a nuisance, so he should just get lost. He interrupted her, saying that his logic didn't. She interrupted him before he could finish the sentence and told him that he was having a difficult time hearing her because he was short. This deeply touched a nerve on the protagonist. He then proceeded to stand up and ask her what she had said. He then proceeded to scold her, telling her that if she didn't like him staying in his own house, then she should leave, and that he hadn't looked at her because he wanted to, and that it was her fault for walking around like that in a man's house. She told him that she was just someone who liked to show off. She twitched her teeth in anger when she heard that, and was about to strongly reprimand him on the spot. This scared him, but she held back, clenching her fist. She then calmed down, but he told her that he was older than her and she should show him some respect. This enraged her even more because she didn't want to. She then took out a pack of cigarettes, saying that he hadn't told Lena nor Lin to do that. She then proceeded to put the cigar in her mouth, saying that he was annoying. Gang-chan noticed this. He then hurried up and asked her what she thought she was going to do in his house, then tried to reach for the cigar, but she raised her hand so he couldn't reach it. His face was so close to her chest. This gave her an idea. She asked him what the matter was while flicking her hand. She said that she thought he was going to try to take it, asked him how he planned to take the cigar out of her hands, and asked him what he could do. She then placed the cigar in the middle of her chest, saying that from that height he had it easier. He then turned away, confusing her. He then told her that this was the reason she didn't have a boyfriend. This exploded within her as if a nuclear bomb had detonated. This enraged her, asking him how he could say something so ridiculous. He said that he could bet that she had never held a boy's hand nor had a date. This was like a home run on her, with her head being the ball. She clenched the cigar box, asking him how he dared to say such nonsense about her. He got a bit worried about her anger. She then pointed at him, stating that surely he had never done that before either, for being short. After that, an awkward silence filled the room. He pointed out that he had done that before, which surprised Seung. He said that he just guessed, but wasn't sure that she really didn't have any experience with men, and all her teasing actually didn't mean a thing because she was no better than him. She said that he was lying, and she told him to stop acting like a snob, adding that he didn't even know how to interact romantically with a girl. She then proceeded to state that nobody would ever engage in such an act with a man who looked like a kid, a comment that deeply enraged him. He then swiftly took her by the wrist, and, with a determined motion, he positioned himself over her on the bed, emphatically stating that if she continued to call him a kid every single time, then she would soon discover what this so-called kid would truly do. She responded with a smirk, remarking that she was curious what he was attempting to do, whether he intended to wrestle her or something else, and confidently added that he would never be able to intimidate her. He firmly ordered her to stop calling him a kid, but she defiantly replied that she called him a kid precisely because he acted like one, and then challenged him again, asking what he was going to do about that. She further provoked him, telling him that if he was truly upset about being called a kid, then he should prove to her that he was not one, and she openly admitted she didn't have high hopes for him after all. What, she implied, could a mere kid possibly do? He was fully prepared to teach her a lesson, ensuring she would never dare to call him a kid ever again. Then, unexpectedly, she blushed, because he then proceeded to kiss her. The kiss lasted for a considerable duration. She was left utterly bewildered, internally wondering, what the heck just happened? She was genuinely surprised that he had actually gone through with it. After some time had passed, they slowly separated, bringing the kiss to an end. He then pulled away from her, sternly telling her to stop teasing him from now on. Her breath seemed to be paused in her chest. She stood perfectly still, seemingly unable to move or react. He looked at her and observed her frozen, unmoving face. She was in a state of complete shock from that kiss, while he internally thought that his revenge was now complete, and she would surely respect him a little from this point forward. He then casually waved his hand in front of her face to see if she would display any reaction whatsoever. He began to wonder if the intensity of the kiss had been too much for her to handle. He allowed a slight smirk to form on his lips and pondered if he should seek even more payback for himself today. Then he spoke. He stated that he knew this was her first time, but he was still somewhat disappointed, and then mocked her by saying that the great Mappo Grizzly had been knocked down by just one kiss. He then continued to mock her a bit more, suggesting that he should have gone easier on her during their encounter. He then asserted that the kid between them was not him, and she should cease trying to act tough in front of him now. But then, she unexpectedly said that he made her laugh. She defiantly lifted her middle finger and retorted that even a 10-year-old could do that, referring to the kiss. She confidently bet that he had only watched romance tutorials and practiced kissing himself, because in her words, that kiss sucked. She then added that she was being generous by even suggesting that someone might be willing to kiss him, but implied he would only experience a couple of kisses in his entire life. And then she provocatively asked who would ever consider that someone as weak as him was a man, while deliberately touching him with her foot. He swiftly slapped her foot away. He then moved close to her face once again, and told her that she was acting incredibly tough when she had been frozen with just one kiss. She retorted that she wasn't acting tough, she was simply telling him the truth. This unexpected response startled Gang Chan. He then concluded that there was no point in talking to her further, and he stood directly in front of her, telling her that even a kindergartner has kissed someone, and he had actually done her a favor by being her first kiss in her life, and instead of being thankful, she was berating him. He then firmly affirmed that no man would ever be interested in her romantically when she was so rude and uncivilized. She was momentarily unable to say a thing in response to his harsh words, until she finally managed to retort that he was just talk. He then realized that something inside his pants was betraying him by moving unexpectedly. She then accused him of being a nuisance again because of all the things he had just said, claiming that all she did was play along, but he got too excited. He then tried to hide his embarrassment while stating that he couldn't control that, but she thought that was just nonsense. To her, he was merely a snobby kid who was trying to prove his worth when he got flustered easily. He then retorted that she was in no position to say that, because she was already flustered. He then mocked her, saying that he would need to wash his bedsheets all because of her. He asked if she was already like that, just for a kiss. She tried to cover herself and asked him what he was talking about. He said that she was acting tough, but surely she just wanted someone to be assertive with her. She kicked him, but not before calling him short again. He rolled on his bed in pain from the impact of that kick. After recovering from the blow, she told him to stop getting on her nerves because she could easily beat him up with only one hand. He retorted that she always tried to resolve everything with violence, that she looked down on people weaker than him and attempted to rule over them by force. But, he added, none of that mattered as long as she was a woman. She wouldn't be able to do anything if his assertiveness made her feel good. This statement exploded in her mind and caused her face to blush with anger, a powerful combination of emotions. She then threw him her shirt, declaring that he was just talking nonsense. Then they began a wrestling session so he could be her wrestler. In the middle of that training session, she remembered her time in high school. Women were talking of their experiences, saying that it was not anything special, so Se-young believed them. But none of that was true in that moment. But then Se-young's phone rang. It was Lena, but she didn't hear it because of the wrestling session. Then they kept wrestling for a long time, until it was already night. On her cell phone, she had 8 missed calls, but they didn't know, because they both were already knocked out from all that wrestling match. Even after that, he asked her if that was all she's got. He was proud of what he did. He already showed her that she had to respect him. She, in the process of this match, didn't want to admit it, but she was completely under him. He was pointing to the fact that she's been calling him short all this time. He was enjoying the taste of victory and asked her if she would stop now all the teasing towards him. But she told him to not get conceited. It was already 10:38 p.m. They'd been wrestling for about 2 hours now. He had to wake up early tomorrow to go to work, and now he was going to be tired and with aches from all those attacks. He couldn't feel his back right now. He felt like a zombie. On her side, she was sleeping soundly, as if nothing had happened. He wondered what he should do now. They fought each other all day without thinking about the consequences, and he just won against the most challenging of them all. After being lost in thoughts, he realized something. Lena was watching them. All the disaster of the fight. He wondered when she came, and what she was thinking. Silence enveloped the room. She just stared at him, at how they fought while looking a bit disheveled, and closed the door immediately. She was dazzled, wondering if what she just saw was real or just her imagination. She wondered what the heck had happened. She couldn't believe that Se-young and Gang Chan just had their first wrestling match together. However, it was a new day. Yes, it was. And Se-young was trying not to be noticed coming out of Gang Chan's house. She walked with her tiptoes while barefoot. But there in the corner were Lena and Layun waiting for her. She jumped from the fear of seeing them there, asking her where she was yesterday and why she didn't pick up her phone all day. They asked why she stayed out of the house today, if she never had done that before. This was so suspicious to them. With a mischievous look, they wanted to know what her excuses could be, why she was sweating, and why she was this quiet, they asked. Lena got closer and asked her to tell them the truth, and the truth only. They said that they already had their suspicions of what she had been doing, but they wanted her to say it. Se-young pretended not to know what they were talking about. She said that she worked out all night in the gym. Then she said that no guys had ever wanted to be with her, so that was not a possibility here, and asked them if they had someone to introduce to her. Lena made a playful gesture with her hands, like asking for a pencil sharpener. But Se-young said that she didn't have one. But Lin smelled her, saying that her aroma could tell her what she had been doing all night, but Se-young said that it was just sweat. Then she managed to escape, going into her house and slamming the door on their faces. They both seemed speechless, but Lena had something planned, and she was going to get whatever she wanted right now. On Se-young's side, she was all red, and with her heartbeat at its maximum. Then she remembered how in school the guys always said that nobody would want to be with someone like her. She always heard how they pointed out all of her defects, like looking tough to the point that it was better being gay than going out with her, her temper and strength like a bear, and looking like a gorilla. They always said that she was strong, she was not graceful, and she was just brute. All this made her very sad, thinking that she could never in her life get a boyfriend, making her always clench her fist in anger, unable to do anything to fix her situation. Back to the present, she still thinks that all of this feels unreal. She cannot believe yet that she got into a lively exchange with someone and was relieved that she was not just tough after all, then tried to convince herself that wrestling was not that special while touching her parts where the aches were. And she cannot believe that her first wrestling match was with someone so skinny and weak like him, Gang Chan the protagonist. Every move he did to her came to her mind. All of her body wanted to practice even more moves. But then she shook her head, thinking that that was enough, and was frustrated that a short person like him treated her like a toy at something she had to be better at. The best of all time, the last real champion, the game, the heartbreak, the master of wrestling moves, the chosen one. She was decided to get her revenge one way or another, while hearts seemed to draw in her eyes, and her heart was racing. for all the mix of feelings she was having right now. The next day, someone was gossiping in the office. They were saying that a team leader got sacked for embezzlement. They were saying that even the cops got involved, also made fun of the situation in various ways. Probably the responsible was a woman who was fired from her previous work because she had an affair with a married man in her team. Gang Chan heard all the gossip while he was working and broke a pen in frustration. He asked to himself what he should do. While a Shinigami was looking at him, looking for apples, he could not stop thinking of Lena, seeing how he had all with Seung. He thought that she had recorded it all and was scheming something against him. The thoughts were dominating his mind, how this was going to change his relationship with Seung from now on, how Lena hadn't called since then, and if she had told everything to Lin. All of this made him feel so anxious that he could not focus on his job. He knew that he had to see them again today, and he had no idea on how to react when he saw them today. He was so frustrated, and whether he liked it or not, he had to see them again every day no matter what. He even screamed, "What am I going to do from now on?" Calling the attention of his companions, he even got a bit far off the desk while wondering what he was going to do. An old man asked him if he was having a nervous breakdown again, and told him that if that was the case, then he could go home early. Gang Chan said that he was okay, but the thought of what to do didn't leave his head. He started to feel dizzy. His only desire was to quit his job and leave. After some time, the workday was finally over. Then, on the door, there was a note that said, "My room, I'll kill you if you don't knock." Inside, there was a bunch of training equipment, and Seung was doing push-ups. She fell to the ground because she was already too tired to continue. She couldn't stop thinking about how Gang Chan won their wrestling contest last night. This entire situation truly annoyed her. She desired nothing more than to just get rid of him with her bare fists. She wished to do that so intensely, but it wasn't an option. She had to see him frequently, and it would become incredibly awkward from now on if she resorted to violence. Besides, she had more to lose than to gain, and it would look bad to beat up a small guy like him just for some wrestling. And if Lena and Lin ever discovered the secret, they would never stop mocking her for it. She looked at her phone, desperately searching for an answer to the question, what to do in this situation. Then she found something that was of particular interest to her. It suggested to challenge him differently and prevent him from winning easily. She angrily tossed her phone away, vehemently declaring that she would never do such a thing. Then she made her decision. She was going to get her revenge one way or another. Then, the scene shifts to Gang Chan's room. She entered and realized that no one was home. This was good for her, as she had an idea forming. She smirked, because she was about to do something truly mischievous. He was surely going to pay for humiliating the strongest woman in the world, the great Seung. It was too late to back down now, so she proceeded to get to work. She proceeded to tighten all the lids on every bottle in his room. She also loosened up all the light bulbs and bent all of his spoons. She also placed the remote control in the highest cabinet she could reach. She was truly mischievous, if you ask me. She also put all of his clothes under the furniture. All her mischievous work was done perfectly. She felt so good after a session of mischief, thinking that's what he gets for messing with her. She thought that this would be enough for her revenge. But then a bad feeling flooded her mind, thinking that she was being pathetic. She couldn't go any lower than this, doing some childish pranks to get revenge on a man who looked like a kid. So pathetic. Anyways, despite that thought, she still felt good for having her revenge served like that. Then she proceeded to hide under his bed, because she wanted to see his reaction. But her shorts slid down while she was trying to hide. She had a big build, and now she was stuck, unable to move under Gang Chan's bed. This enraged her, and she thought it was ridiculous. Then, Gang Chan arrived and immediately saw her under the bed. He was wondering what the heck was happening. He wondered what she was doing under his bed. He thought that maybe she was trying to make him wrestle her again, like last time. Then he considered that it was difficult for that to be the case. Even so, it was funny to find her like that. It was very unlikely, but here she was. Then she asked if the person there was Lena or Lin, but also asked if it was the shorty who challenged her. He then proceeded to touch her arm, saying that it was him, the arrogant shorty, and asked her what she had planned to do. Then he asked what she was doing. She looked like she was doing something funny, and he asked what her plan was. She thought that this situation was the worst, and cursed that it was him, of all people, who was looking at her in such a state. She remembered all the things she did to get her revenge, and now she was there. She thought that she didn't have to tell him that she was hiding to see his reaction after all she did. She would never say that. But what should she do? She had to think of something, and fast. She had to think about an excuse. But then Gang Chen was thinking the worst about her, that she wanted to be challenged again. After all, she had shown him that this was what she enjoyed. But she was cursing her actual situation because there was no way out anymore. She tried to get out, but she failed in every attempt. She was desperate because the worst was approaching. Then he explained that the bed kept shaking in the past, so he had nailed it down, making it solid like a rock. That's why she couldn't escape this time. She called him a crazy person for that. Then he proceeded to ask her why she was stuck there. She told him that he didn't care about that and to mind his own business. Then he asked her if she didn't understand in what situation she was in. Then he tickled her foot and asked her to tell him the truth. She couldn't bear it anymore and surrendered, asking him to stop and promising she would tell him the truth, then told him to check for himself. This raised Gang Chan's curiosity, and she asked him if he hadn't taken a look around his house already. Then he started to search around. He found the loose lights, the ruined spoons, the clothes under the furniture. That was his favorite jacket, and now it was ruined. He held the jacket to his chest, and she mocked him. She said that she wanted to hide there and see his reaction and how he was upset for all the mess she did, and said that this was what he got for provoking her. But then he tapped her in anger. She felt a lot of discomfort from that tap. He kept tapping her, ordering her to apologize. He ordered her to hurry up with the apologies and tapped her even harder. This, instead of making her suffer. She seemed to enjoy it, saying that she barely felt tickles. He was enraged and then prepared to do something even more drastic. He managed to get his revenge by toying with her, but this was not enough for her, because in the process, he didn't want to give her what she wanted, and fell asleep. But she managed to free herself and threw him to the floor, and forced him to do what she wanted, and he had no choice but to obey. After an intense night of wrestling, she, Seung, expressed an eager desire to continue their practice sessions. However, he, in his exhausted state, was already thoroughly beaten. Overwhelmed by fatigue, he succumbed to sleep, while she, feeling a surge of anger, attempted to rouse him. She desperately tried to wake him up, her need to practice even more evident, but her efforts proved useless. He was utterly incapacitated, unable to awaken from the profound knockout he had experienced. The transition from night to day was abrupt. The next day had already arrived, bringing with it a new set of circumstances. Upon regaining consciousness, he discovered a staggering 20 missed calls on his phone, all originating from the formidable department head. When he finally awoke, disoriented, he had no idea what time it was, adding to his confusion and sense of unease. An immense pain radiated through his back, signaling a significant discomfort. He suspected that Seung, in the fervor of their wrestling match, might have utilized a particularly potent submission move that had left him grievously injured. He felt as though he had been run over by a truck, rendering him utterly unable to even get up. A chilling realization dawned upon him. He could potentially be late for work. His gaze then landed upon a pack of muscle pain relief patches, lying conspicuously nearby. A fleeting thought crossed his mind. Seung must have been incredibly kind to have purchased these for him, demonstrating such consideration for his recovery. He was genuinely surprised by her thoughtful consideration. However, his quiet reflection was abruptly interrupted by a soft voice inquiring if he needed help with the patches. It was Lena, her face alight with visible happiness at seeing him finally waking up. The sudden appearance and voice of Lena scared him profoundly, sending a jolt through his already aching body. Lena, observing his startled reaction, casually inquired about his surprise, reminding him that they see each other almost every day. She initially assumed, based on the peaceful expression she perceived on his face, that he had enjoyed a particularly good night's sleep, but when he quickly told her that nothing happened, her assumptions were challenged. A wave of unwelcome thoughts washed over him as he wondered what she was doing there. He distinctly didn't want her presence in his room. Undeterred by his apparent discomfort, she then directly asked him what had happened. He reiterated his terse response, nothing, but it was clear from her expression that she didn't believe it for a second. Nevertheless, he proceeded to inform her that, regardless of their closeness, she absolutely had to knock before entering his room. She retorted that she did knock, but he evidently didn't hear her. With an air of defiance, she then admitted to having simply entered without his permission, and she said it as if she were proud of that transgression. He couldn't help but think that she was deliberately teasing him, convinced that she knew exactly what had transpired the night before. Lena then remarked that he must be feeling incredibly tired from whatever had happened yesterday, but quickly assured him that she didn't know the specifics of his activities. Despite her supposed ignorance, his own reactions to her seemingly innocent jokes were undeniably suspicious, betraying a deeper secret. She also took the opportunity to remind him that he was not at work today, emphasizing his unexpected day off. Furthermore, she pointedly mentioned the disheveled state of the room, drawing attention to the chaos around them. She then commented on the overall weird atmosphere that pervaded the space, hinting at something unusual having taken place. Continuing her observations, she subtly suggested that he might be the one responsible for all the mess, implying his direct involvement. It became clear that she had some guesses as to what could have possibly transpired within the room. He was consumed by a growing fear that she knew it all, and would inevitably make fun of him for his exploits. Adding to his apprehension, he was also afraid that she could misunderstand the true nature of his relationship with Seong. After all, he himself was still uncertain what they both were to one another, making the situation even more complicated. Consequently, he made a conscious decision to keep everything a secret, clinging to the slim chance that Lena wouldn't suspect more than she already did. His fear escalated to the point where he worried she might perceive him as a garbage of a man, and concluded that the best course of action would be to come clean later, when the time was right. Lena, amused by his grave demeanor, then laughed at him for being so serious. She asserted that he was an adult, and that, ultimately, what he was doing was completely normal, so he truly should not be ashamed of anything. She playfully asked if he was embarrassed, further prodding him, and then reiterated that if he indeed engaged in such activities, there was no reason to feel ashamed or anything like that. Lena then articulated her assumption of what he had done. Not wrestling with Seong, but merely training himself alone. A deep flush spread across his face as he got all red, utterly perplexed as to why she would say that. Feeling profoundly offended, he began to scream at her, vehemently denying that he had done any such thing. He secretly hoped that she hadn't suspected his actual wrestling session from the previous night. She calmly stated that he was inherently very shy and would never talk to a woman in that manner, thus making her previous guess the most certain one. Lena then continued to mock him a bit more, further intensifying his embarrassment and causing him to become even redder. At that point, he reached a stage where he didn't care anymore if she believed him or not. However, she then surprisingly declared that she trusted him completely. She then settled down near him and, with a nonchalant shrug, uttered, "Who cares?" Extending an invitation, she suggested that if he was feeling lonely, he could always go out with her. Lena then boldly claimed that they could wrestle better than he had the previous night, perhaps even surpassing a match for the world title. He felt his shyness reaching its absolute limit, wondering intensely what she was plotting by coming so disconcertingly close to him. The vivid image of her finding him wrestling with Seong flashed into his mind. He was now absolutely sure that she knew it all. He initially believed that she was going to make fun of him for his poor performance in the ring, but then considered that perhaps she had already forgotten it all, or more disturbingly, she was merely pretending to have forgotten. He found himself unable to know for sure what was truly coming to her mind, leaving him in a state of anxious uncertainty. His swirling thoughts were abruptly interrupted by her voice. She inquired if he wasn't planning on going to work today, conveniently adding that it was also her day off. Given their shared free time, she proposed that they should simply hang out together. He then cleared his throat, preparing to speak and articulate his refusal. He quickly got dressed and informed her that he had an abundance of things to do and was therefore very busy, inadvertently giving her the impression that he was a workaholic. However, as he moved, an immense pain flared in his back once more. He involuntarily fell back onto his bed, uttering Lena's name in a pained gasp. He then let out a frustrated curse, because he was completely unable to move. At that precise moment, his phone began to ring. He answered it, discovering to his surprise that it was his boss calling. He immediately apologized for his absence. To his astonishment, his boss reassured him that it was okay, proclaiming him the best worker in the world. The boss granted him the entire day off, confident that something significant must have transpired. He instructed him to take the day off and rest as much as he needed, assuring him that others would handle all necessary tasks. Of course, Lena, having overheard the entire conversation, became incredibly excited by the news that he wouldn't be working today. While he wasn't particularly thrilled about the unexpected day off, Lena, on the other hand, felt all the happiness in the world surge within her soul. With a flourish, she then tossed out his uniform, declaring that he wouldn't be needing it for the day. He, however, simply lied down, stating his intention to sleep all day. While a full day of sleep sounded appealing, given how tired he had been and his desire to simply close his eyes for the rest of the day, he also had to acknowledge the looming presence of housework and other obligations. But before he could dwell on his chores, Lena gently held his shoulders, remarking on how stiff they felt. With a mischievous smile, she informed him that she was going to perform a massage on him to help him feel better. He instinctively declined, stating that there was no need for that. Yet, she insisted, proclaiming herself an expert in massage, casually mentioning that she often massaged Yoonda and Seong. The unfamiliar name sparked a sudden question in his mind. Who is Yoonda? Undeterred by his question, she nonetheless began a rather weird massage designed to alleviate his discomfort. During the process, she subtly, yet pointedly, mentioned the wrestling session he had with Seong. At that precise moment, he became absolutely certain that she knew everything. She then proceeded to directly ask him how it was, referring to the wrestling match. She questioned his surprise at her knowledge, asserting that she believed he already knew that she was aware of the wrestling sessions. A knowing smirk played on her lips, clearly demonstrating that she had merely been pretending not to know all along. He found himself completely under her scrutiny now, trapped and exposed. He realized with a jolt that if he uttered the wrong words now, he would be screwed for life. She calmly told him to simply relax. She clarified that she was merely curious to know what he felt during the wrestling match. He, however, was rendered speechless. He didn't know what to say. She then pressed further, inquiring why they had kept it a secret and, more importantly, what they were to one another in terms of their relationship. Her questions continued as she eagerly asked him what he had done to win against the strongest woman in the world, expressing a genuine desire to know his secret. While awaiting his response, she took out her phone. Simultaneously, she continued her interrogation, asking him if he harbored any regrets about the previous night. He firmly stated that he had no regrets. She then countered, telling him that if he had no regrets nor felt guilty, then he simply had to tell her what he did. She expressed her doubt that they were genuinely in love with one another, suggesting something more out of the ordinary. He vehemently negated that idea. He admitted that they had nothing planned, but explained that the atmosphere had simply gotten weird, and the wrestling session had just happened, and she had already witnessed it. He confessed that they hadn't consumed any alcohol, and both of them had agreed to the wrestling. He emphasized that she was the one who started it, implying that if she thought he was the bad one in the scenario, she was wrong. He let out a faint laugh, a nervous tremor in his voice. Lena, however, firmly believed that there was no way he was telling the entire truth, and she could see that he would never tell her willingly. A fleeting memory of Seung's expression crossed her mind, and she couldn't help but wonder, how did a skinny and weak man like Gang Chan manage to face her? Seung had always adamantly stated that she would never wrestle against someone weaker than her. There seemed to be no rational explanation for this situation, as Seung was never easily impressed. Lena pondered what his special method could possibly be, given that there appeared to be nothing special about Gang Chan in Seung's eyes. To Lena, they simply didn't even look good together. This whole affair was rapidly making her more interested than she had anticipated. He abruptly interrupted her, urgently asking her to get off his back because her weight was beginning to increase the pain. She immediately apologized and complied, moving off him. The clock now showed 12:04 p.m. She then carefully applied the medicine to his back, offering some much-needed relief. He admitted that wrestling her had been incredibly painful, and his back still hurt considerably. Despite the discomfort, he confessed that it might have simply been a mistake, but he felt no sorrow about that particular mistake. He then told her that she was free to think whatever she wanted. All he desired was to simply sleep. However, his resolve was quickly challenged by something that profoundly impressed him. She boldly sat over him once more and, with an intriguing glint in her eye, told him that she had a better idea. They should have fun outside. After all, the weather was pleasant, making it an ideal day for them to go out on a date and enjoy some good food. This, she reasoned, would prevent him from getting bored at home. He feebly protested, reminding her that his back hurt and he simply wished to sleep. But then she challenged him, asking if, despite his perceived bravery, he wouldn't accept a date with her. She then reminded him that she was, in a way, responsible for bringing Seung and him closer, so he should not be so mean to her. She declared that she was not going to let him go until they both went out on a date. He felt an overwhelming wave of shame wash over him at her persistent actions. Left with no other choice, he reluctantly accepted the date. She then gracefully got off him and, with a triumphant smile, announced that she was going to dress up and that they would be seeing each other later. For him, it was an incredibly close call. He found himself getting far too excited by her propositions. While she was brimming with happiness, he, on the other hand, was left wondering why she would suddenly want to go out on a date with him. He was convinced she had to be plotting something. Meanwhile, she felt an intense thrill, eager to uncover what Seung saw in him. Later, Gang Chan arrived at the designated meeting place for their date. The outdoor temperature was surprisingly hot. Soon after, she arrived, immediately asking him if he was feeling hot. She produced 2 ice creams, handing one to him. And so, they proceeded to enjoy the hot day, trying to make the best of it. Despite the scorching weather causing his ice cream to melt on his hand, he continued to eat it. She, for her part, appeared to be thoroughly enjoying her ice cream. As he observed her, Gang Chan's suspicions grew. He thought that she was acting suspiciously. He simply didn't buy it that she would genuinely want to go out on such an exceptionally hot day. He simply stared at her intently while she was engrossed in eating her ice cream. He then noticed that she was consuming it in a remarkably weird way. A blush crept onto his cheeks because that particular manner of eating was indeed very peculiar. She, noticing his gaze, then asked why he wasn't eating his ice cream. He merely glanced at her in response. She then inquired if there was something on her face, prompting his prolonged stare. She warned him that his ice cream was going to melt, which finally spurred him to start eating. After they finished their ice creams, she found herself still wondering what had truly happened. From his outward appearance, there was nothing special about him. She found it hard to believe that Si-young, who was so close to her, would fall for this guy. She concluded that Si-young's preferences must have changed. While she didn't necessarily think there was something wrong with that, he was simply too normal for Si-young. He wasn't the strong, masculine, or macho man she had always desired. Deciding against wasting any more time, she resolved to simply act on her instincts. She was on the verge of holding his leg, ready to make her move. But then he abruptly interrupted her, halting her intentions. He directly asked her why she suddenly wanted to go out on a date with him. She countered by asking if he didn't like spending time with her. He, ever polite, denied that question. He explained that he simply couldn't understand why she would want to go out in such hot weather, and directly asked if there was a specific reason for that. She confirmed that she had one in mind. She then, without hesitation, brought up what he had done yesterday, bringing the sensitive topic directly to the table. This sudden mention profoundly surprised him. She then audaciously lied on his lap and asked if he could do the same to her. He, flustered, asked why she wanted that. At this spectacle, everyone's gaze turned towards them, and whispers began to circulate, speculating that they were a couple and in love. Indeed, everyone turned their attention squarely on them. Even a nearby cat seemed to be watching with curious eyes. He, overcome with shyness, pleaded with her to get up. She, in turn, looked up at him, noticing his intense gaze upon her. And then, she proceeded to tease him a bit, further increasing his discomfort. She then began to finish what had dripped from her ice cream cone, an action that utterly puzzled him. Her movements were so swift and precise, it was almost like a rocket being launched. Startled, he then got up abruptly, causing her head to fall from his lap. He then declared that if she wasn't going to do something concrete, then they should just return home before it got any hotter. She responded with a light chuckle. Then, taking his arm, she asked where they should go for their date, still determined to continue. She knew that if she persisted with this line of inquiry, she would finally find out why Si-young liked him so much. She simply looked at him as they walked, well aware that he was wary of her intentions. She was now fully decided to be bolder with him, determined to unravel the mystery of his appeal. So they're just walking along, and he's totally saying they should just head home. But she's like, nah, I'm having a blast. It's been ages since I just walked with someone like this. Then she throws it back at him. Wanna do anything specific today? He's kind of clueless because he hasn't been on many dates, so he tells her she should take the lead. She then says she owes him big time. Whatever he wants to do, they're doing it, even if it's wrestling. This totally throws him for a loop. He tells her to chill, don't mess with him. She just laughs, saying it's like a basic need. She's surprised how easily he blushes just by her saying stuff like that. He's clearly a total amateur at dating, and he's trying his best to put up with her teasing. She then tells him she's been doing some research and he needs to follow her. He's like, what research? She then drops the bomb. She did all that research because she's gonna be his girlfriend today. She even sticks her hand out behind her for him to grab. The mere thought of her being his girlfriend makes him blush like crazy. He's totally about to grab it. Just the idea of touching her hand makes him blush. While he's all flustered, she just goes for it and hugs his arm. She's super excited because walking like that, they look just like a couple. She asks if he doesn't like it, but he's just silent. Then she's like, let's just enjoy this date like we're a real couple. So they hit up different spots and take tons of photos. She's totally mesmerized by a dog walking by, but Gang-chan gets totally freaked out. He gets super tired climbing stairs because he's clearly not in great shape. And his sausage, the food, come on, even falls on the ground while he's eating it. Poor guy. He even falls when he tries to push her on a swing. What a klutz. She has to take care of him because he looks absolutely wiped. Then she just kind of looks at him for a bit. It's already dawn, and they're still walking, with him a bit ahead of her. Sipping an iced drink, she thinks to herself how crazy this whole day has been. They've been together all day, but she still can't figure out what makes him so special to Si-young. She's thinking he's either super boring, or he's deliberately acting this way so she'll just leave him alone. I mean, Si-young's mind is weird, right? Maybe she sees something in him that Lena just can't get her head around. This thought actually makes her head hurt. She wonders if she just wasted her whole day, and if she should have just gone to work instead of this boring date. But then, something totally grabs her attention. He suddenly protects her from getting wiped out by a couple on a scooter who are too busy looking at their phones to notice her. He's super relieved she's okay and immediately asks her if she's all right. This makes her blush, and she says she's fine. All thanks to him. But then she points out he's still holding something else. Oops. He quickly pulls his hands away, apologizing like crazy and saying it was just an accident. He turns away in shame because he can't even look her in the eyes after that. She tells him it's fine though, he was just trying to help, so he shouldn't worry about it. Then she's deep in thought. Even though he's been super clumsy and awkward all day, right then, he was actually acting pretty manly. But she still thinks that's not enough for Si-young to fall for him. Then they both notice her drink fell, getting her blouse all wet. And her ankle got hurt, but she says it's okay, Still, he makes her sit down and tells her to wait, saying he's gonna go get her some medicine. She thinks that even if he's a bit of a klutz, right now he feels surprisingly reliable. She then gets totally lost in thought about him. But someone's watching her from afar while she's wondering what she's gonna do about her sore ankle. Will she even be able to get home safely? Then that mysterious person came close and told her that she looked like she was injured. It was a tall and strong man, asking her if she needed his help. Meanwhile, Gang Chan was walking out of the store. He was relieved that he could buy the medicine before it ran out. But then he dropped the bag. The man wanted to force Lena to go with him to her home, but she said that her boyfriend was coming. Well, he took that as a joke. She was not joking. She wanted him to go away, but he insisted. Then the protagonist arrived and took his hand to make him not bother her anymore. Lena was surprised for his bravery. He said that he didn't seem to be her friend, so he couldn't drag her with him like that. He looked at him with a gloomy face. Gang Chan tried to be polite and solve all with dialogue, because he wouldn't win a fight against him. But then the man called him midget, saying that he could not possibly be her boyfriend. He pushed Gang Chan away, saying that he would punch him in the face, also said that he would have 0 chances to be with someone as beautiful as her. Then he asked her for her number, also saying that he didn't ask for it to anyone, she didn't want to. Then Gang Chan called his attention, took him from the shirt, and told him that he was no one, and he had to get lost and stop being a loser who doesn't leave her alone. Then he showed him the phone, showing him that he was about to call the police. This scared the tall man. Then left, complaining about the unlucky day and not getting the girl. This time, the protagonist really won for his bravery. He asked Lena if she was okay. She said that she was not okay, that she was thankful for his help, but he put himself in danger. That man could have beat him with 1 punch. She was worried, and with her heart racing, wondered what was happening with her. She was completely blushing, maybe in love with Gang Chan. She didn't know what was happening in the depths of her heart that made her blush like that, her cheeks feeling hot enough to cook an egg. She told herself there was no way, absolutely no way, that someone like her could fall for someone like Gang Chan. He was just so basic, so simple, so boring, so small, like a boring little garden gnome. But then she noticed something in the gloomy mood that had taken over Gang Chan. His usual calm face looked all messed up. He just sort of collapsed. He fell to the ground, trembling and letting out this huge sigh of relief, like he'd been holding his breath forever. She immediately asked him what the heck was going on. He replied, his voice shaky, that in that moment he felt like his heart was about to explode. He was trying to catch his breath and get himself back together. She felt a pang of guilt and apologized for putting him in a situation like that. Her voice got a little small as she said she couldn't walk from there. They were way out in the deepest part of the park, and her ankle was throbbing like crazy. She really wanted to call Seyoung so she could come pick him up. It was the easiest option. But the thing was, if Seyoung found out they had come to the park together, all alone, something bad was definitely going to happen to both of them. This scared them, especially Gang Chan. The simple idea of Seyoung finding out froze him right on the spot. She knew that Seyoung would either get super jealous or just plain furious at the idea of Gang Chan doing something to her, her best friend, and would probably beat him up until he couldn't even stand. So yeah, if anything happened, it could totally be his last day on Earth. No amount of wrestling practice would save him from Seyoung's wrath this time. Another huge problem was that the park would shut off all its lights and close down in a little while. They had a lot of issues, and they couldn't just stay there. She also thought about calling an ambulance or something, but that seemed like too much. Plus, her clothes were soaking wet from the earlier chaos, and she was pretty sure she was gonna catch a cold. Gang Chan, for his part, got a little worried because her wet clothes were making things a little transparent. He could see more than he wanted to, without even trying. But then Lena found something on her phone that she thought could save them. She pulled it up and showed it to Gang Chan. The thing he saw on the screen made his face turn completely red. The idea was to go to a place for a night. A place for couples, you know, a motel. The place was super close, so she figured it was a perfect idea for them to just stay the night there. Gang Chan tried to argue, saying that a place like that was for, like, professional wrestling matches, and it would be bad if they went there. He also pointed out that the reviews were really weird and made the whole place sound kind of sketchy. Lena just shrugged. She didn't care about that at all. She said nothing bad would happen as long as they didn't do anything bad to each other. Gang Chan's face went even redder as he tried to argue back, but Lena cut him off, asking what his problem was. Then, with a playful smirk, she asked if he wanted to do something more. For her, there was literally no other choice. Her phone was almost dead, and that part of the park was super sketchy after dark. If something bad happened, it would be a total tragedy for her. Besides, she was just exhausted after a long day. Her friends couldn't even help them because of the whole Seyoung situation. Gang Chan, still trying to sound reasonable, argued that she was a woman and he was a man. Something that if he didn't say, we would have never realized, to be honest, he thought. Going to a place like that together had a chance of ending up really, really bad. She then asked him why he was suddenly acting like such a gentleman. She had already noticed where his eyes were wandering. He was totally startled, knowing that she had caught him staring. Then she just flat out asked him if he had a better idea. The silence that followed was so loud, they could hear the crickets outside having their own little wrestling session. He just went all red and couldn't say a single word, because deep down, he knew she was right about everything she had just said. After what felt like forever, they finally made it to the motel, with her complaining the whole way about the pain in her ankle. Once they were inside, she immediately sent a message to her friends, telling them not to wait up for her, and that she'd be back the next day. They got into the room, and Gang Chan was ready to just crash. He told her they should get some rest and go to the doctor first thing in the morning. But then, she apologized for what she had put him through earlier. She said she should have been more assertive, that he had almost gotten hurt because of her, and if he hadn't been there, that shady guy would have probably hurt her. She clenched her fist, explaining that her work forced her to meet a ton of new people. She had gotten better at dealing with them, but she admitted that there were still times when men scared her. For a long time, she thought it wasn't a problem for her anymore. As far back as she could remember, she had always been alone. No one ever wanted to be her friend. It could have been because her dad was a foreigner, or just because she was who she was. Even when she tried to make friends, she got bullied because everyone thought she was just flirting with boys. Around that time, weird rumors about her started going around the school. The boys looked at her in a creepy way, and the delinquents started talking about her in a gross way. The things they said went from her being a foreigner to how her school uniform fit her. They also spread rumors about her doing bad things with other men. She just couldn't take it anymore. The only thing she could do was clench her fists in anger, but nothing else. She couldn't have any friends. There was even a time when she thought about just giving up on everything because she was so lonely and exhausted. But then she met Seyoung, who became her friend by literally beating up any man who dared to talk badly about her. Seyoung told her that she could just hang out with her if being alone was too hard. Lena looked at Gang Chan and told him that even though it didn't look like it, her life had always been a living nightmare. Even now, she felt that exact same scared feeling whenever she saw a man. This made Gang Chan think. She always seemed so cheerful and bubbly. He couldn't believe her life had been so sad. He didn't know the whole story, but from what she said, it sounded like she had been through a lot. He could only imagine what her life must have been like, and how that horrible past was still haunting her. But then he realized something about this whole thing was weird. He looked at her, confused, and asked her why she acted so differently with him. After all, he was a man. She never even seemed nervous when she saw him for the first time. He remembered how she was always so cheerful around him, almost like she was flirting with him like a fox after a toy. He straight up asked her, "Are you really scared of men?" She then, in a mocking tone, told him he was cute, so he was an exception. This made him a little angry, and he asked if she was making fun of him. For a moment, he felt like an idiot for feeling bad for her. He thought maybe he should just go home right away. But then she got close and hugged him from behind, and whispered that he wasn't the Gang Chan she knew today. Then she kissed him on the cheek, telling him he was very manly and cool. This totally dazed him, and made his face turn all red. All he could manage to say was, "What?" Then he tried to regain a little of his composure, asking her if she wasn't getting a little handsy. He told her that no matter how friendly she was with him, people would get the wrong idea if she kept treating him like that. She then leaned in close and whispered that she was not messing around. She reminded him that she said everything would be fine as long as they both kept their hands to themselves, but then she asked, "What if I can't keep my hands to myself?" Then Gang Chen turned around to face her, and she was ready for something else. She looked at him with a mischievous grin, asking how he'd feel about that. He just asked her what she meant. She asked him if he really thought she was there alone with him just because of her ankle. She already knew the answer, but she wanted to hear him say it. And as she slid her foot over him, she told him she would give him a reward if he got it right. This made him blush like crazy. She then told him that even if he got it wrong, she would still give him that reward. He asked her if she didn't think she was crossing a line, and that maybe they should talk about it first. She didn't want to talk about anything. He already knew why they came all this way to a place like that, all alone. He couldn't move at all while she was taking off some of his gear with her bare foot. She licked her lips, asking him if he was just oblivious because he was simple, or if he was just an idiot. She asked him if he was seriously going to pretend that she couldn't beat him, and if he was still going to act tough. She rubbed against him and made all kinds of wrestling moves, putting him in a series of submissions. She told him to just relax because she just wanted to repay him. He asked what she was trying to repay. She confessed that he had saved her not once, but twice, and that made her heart flutter. So this was her way to repay him, with a wrestling match. She smirked, and then said that in reality, she had been wanting to do this to him because he looked so cute and innocent, and she wasn't lying when she told him he was completely her type. Then she whispered in his ear that she was really curious about what he could do. She also wanted to know how he could beat the grizzly bear that Si-young was. Gang Chan asked her why she kept saying all those weird things. She just told him not to be so boring, because she knew that he understood very well what she was saying. Then she said she had to punish him for pretending all this time, because for her, he was nothing more than an amateur. Then, in one single move, she managed to win against him, making him surrender to her, plain and simple. This was an incredible sight for her, and she felt so proud of herself for what she had just done. She told him that she wouldn't tell anyone, and Si-young would never find out about it. But in return, he had to become her loyal servant, her slave, and do anything she told him to do. He was already submitted to her, but in reality, she was just imagining all of that. She was expecting that it would actually end up like that, and that she was a naturally talented wrestler. She even imagined herself making him submit to her all day, which made her heart flutter. She thought she was going to be on top of the world with him by her side, imagining how she would teach Si-young a lesson on how this man should be treated, how she would train him to always beat Si-young, and that the one who was in charge of everything was the one and only Lena. She thought of herself as a genius and couldn't believe she had planned the perfect strategy so quickly. She had been so pissed when the date went terribly and got messed up by her foot. But this situation was even better for her, and she was determined to make this opportunity the chance of her life and have him on his knees to always serve her without any argument, once and for all. She was ready to act, to see how he would react to her plan. Gang Chan could see that this fox girl wanted to turn him into her slave and was practically drooling just thinking about it. He thought she was probably thinking about something really weird. He thought he should have just gone home. Now it was too late, and things were getting awkward. Then she got his attention. He was pretty worried because even looking away, he could feel the madness in her eyes. Then she went with her plan, holding him by the shirt and hugging him. She asked if he really thought she was there alone with him, just because of her ankle. And, trembling, she nervously told him that since he had saved her, she would reward him with herself. She tried to get herself together, but in reality, she was super embarrassed. She couldn't sound convincing at all. She wondered what was happening, because it had been so perfect in her imagination. She tried to calm herself down, telling herself that she was doing this with Gang Chan. It should be easier if it was with him. But then Gang Chan spoke up. He told her that he needed to be clear so she wouldn't get the wrong idea. She was startled by his sudden voice and was ready to hear him out. He told her that he had only agreed to go on a date with her because she begged him, and his body just reacted on its own when she was in danger. He didn't want to come here, but he was here because she had suddenly hurt her ankle. He didn't know why she kept getting close to him all of a sudden, but to be honest, he didn't like her. She was completely frozen after hearing those words. He kept going, saying that he didn't have feelings for her. He wasn't trying to compare her to Si-young, but she just felt like an annoying little sister. She got even closer to him and screamed that he was lying. She hugged him even harder, getting a little angry, and asked if he really didn't feel anything for her, not even when she did something like this. He asked her what was wrong with her. He had already told her that he didn't feel anything for her. He also added that her things were smaller than Si-young's. This hit her like a watermelon falling on her head. Then he got up and told her that her wrestling abilities were great, but Si-young's were better. And she was all sticky, probably from all the coffee that had spilled on her. Lena was completely defeated by those words and didn't even want to get up. Gang Chan told her he was going to take a shower because he was all sweaty and recommended she take one too. Already in the shower, he felt relieved because he could finally cool down with a cold shower. But then his face turned all red, thinking about how he had almost ruined everything. He wondered how she could be this cute and was relieved that he had managed to hold on before doing something stupid. He imagined himself having to carry both Lena and Si-young on his back, thinking that his hands were already full with just Si-young. If he had to deal with Lena too, he would totally go crazy. So he decided to just take his shower to clear his head and stop thinking about something that could definitely ruin his life forever. She figured she would never bother him again, since he had made it so clear he didn't want to have a wrestling match with her. But in reality, Gang Chan turned around when she spoke. She told him this was his last chance. He wondered how she even got in there. He tried to cover himself while she said that he had hurt her pride. And showing him everything, she asked him if he was sure he didn't feel anything for her. He wondered what the hell was going on. She was standing there, showing more than anyone should. He really didn't want to look. He asked her if she was crazy and why she would come in there. He told her that if she had something to say, she should have said it outside. She admitted that it wasn't her plan to go that far, but she thought it would make it easier to make him fall for her. She had underestimated him, though. She figured he'd at least be interested. Then she walked toward him and told him that since things had come to this, she was going to get serious. This startled him a lot. He was worried about how this could possibly end. Then she asked if she was really that unattractive to him. He wondered what she was talking about and why she was doing this to him. She confessed that she felt comfortable around him, unlike with other men. She didn't know if it was because of his simple looks, but she wasn't lying when she said she was interested in him. That's why she even told him about her embarrassing past. For her, he was always arguing with Seung, but they were close enough to have wrestling matches. Even though they spent so much time together, nothing had ever happened. All this time, he was just wondering what her definition of being close even was. She told him he had seen it himself earlier, in the park or anywhere else. Guys were always trying to hit on her. Rich guys, good-looking guys, all sorts of decent guys asking for her number. Even a famous K-pop idol had tried to flirt with her. This was her first time being treated like the most unattractive woman in the world. She even remembered talking to Seung about how everyone wanted something with her, but she always rejected them because she was so afraid of men. They always fell for her, even though she never wanted them to. Everywhere she went, she attracted people's attention, and that attention helped her overcome her childhood trauma and build more confidence. She had realized she shouldn't be so afraid of men anymore. So the fact that he didn't find her attractive was so shocking for her. How could he be so mean to her? And worst of all people, it had to be someone like him. This last comment made him angry because it sounded like she thought of him as less of a man than others. She kept saying that she had never had to gather her courage in front of a man like this before. So if he said that he didn't feel anything for her one more time, then she would stop bothering him. While she was saying this, she noticed something he was trying to hide, and she really liked it. Then she asked him again. She turned to ask if he had called her an annoying little sister, and if he still thought of her that way. He tried to regain his composure, but then he felt something. Then she suggested they clean up together while she was there, to save some water. This startled Gang-chan a lot. He asked her to get out, but she didn't pay attention. She was happy that she could finally have an opportunity to subdue him. He said that he wanted her to stop, but he didn't actually do anything to stop her, so she kept going with it. She was happy, believing there was no way someone like him, or anyone for that matter, wouldn't fall for her. She knew he had lied when he claimed he didn't feel anything, so this was her opportunity to beat him for good. In her head, she was already over him, showing him who was the one in charge between them both, how she would have him in her power, and how he would be so thankful that someone like her would stay in his life. She already thought that he was in a daze, thanks to her superb skills. She thought that he looked very cute in that state of mind. For her, this was the most amazing thing that had ever happened to her, and by extension to him, and she also kept teasing him a lot more, saying that he had said that he would never have a wrestling match with her, or that she was nothing to him at all. All of this teasing turned on something inside him, and he said that this was enough. This shocked Lena, who stopped in a second. He continued, saying that, to be honest, he was looking forward to this a little. This made her face all red. Then he turned while touching her belly. This startled her a lot. She then remembered how her friend Seung ended up after their wrestling session, and thought that if he used all those techniques with all his might with her, then she would be done for in that same spot. Gang-chan then said that she was acting so cocky, as if she was a veteran in the business. He had been waiting for a moment for her to do something because she was making an effort, but for him, she was just an amateur, and with those simple skills, she thought that she could really beat him up. All she did was tickle him. The fear in her face was clear. She didn't know what to do in a situation like this. His words left her speechless, while he said that all her techniques screamed amateur. He even dared to ask her if this was her first time having a wrestling match, and said that it would be a shame if this was the best she could do after getting this far. The words that made her twitch were when he said that Seung was better than her. She was angry for this comparison because he was comparing them both again. She tried to regain herself, telling him that he said too much for being in his state, and that those words didn't provoke her at all. Then she kept teasing him a little bit, tempting him to have a match with her. After some teasing, he had enough, and she got what she was asking for. This was all of a sudden. She was not ready for that. She couldn't believe that someone that small and cute actually dared to face her in the way he just did. She was paralyzed and could not say anything because her mind just went blank all of a sudden. Her first dream match, her debut that she imagined all her life, now was nothing more than that, a dream ruined by her silliness. But then Gang-chan clarified that he didn't even move a finger to attack her. This startled her again. Then she proceeded to say that it was nothing for her, that she was not as weak as Seung, and that it felt absolutely nothing. After some more arguments, and her trying to look tough to him, and some more comparisons to Seung, Gang-chan kept doing his job with Lena, teaching her the best wrestling match that she had experienced in her whole life. Also, it was the first one after all. Several times she tried to say that she felt absolutely nothing, and that he was weaker than her. But all that were just empty words, because Gang-chan showed her all the time that he was stronger than her. After a long time, she even was having fun in that match, and even asked the match to continue no matter how beaten up she would be. And after showing his superiority after a match of long duration, and a kiss that formed the climax of this encounter, Gang Chan remembered, in the midst of that chaotic night, that in the past, no woman had ever treated him as a man. He had always been ridiculed and held in contempt. Every girl always bullied him for his height and his looks, teasing him by saying that he dressed like a little girl, even getting to the point of ruining his clothes just for fun. Even when he tried to make an effort to get closer to women, they always ridiculed him and put him in the friend zone, making him do all their homework and giving him a lot of tasks so they could go out with someone else. Or also, they would go to eat with him just for the sake of making him pay for their food and so eat for free every day. The last time he got closer to a girl, she left him for another man. And she just gave him a mocking smile, showing that for her, he was just a pastime, a toy, not a person, but something worthless. But now that he was with Lena, he felt like he had finally been acknowledged as a man, which he really was. He had never felt like this before. It was like he had conquered someone. She called him master in the midst of all this action, so he didn't want to let her down anymore and wanted to show her what he was really capable of. Meanwhile, she in her head was thinking, what happened with the old Gang Chan I knew? Earlier, he was the most timid person in the world, but now he was like a beast, a real world champion. She felt something was weird about this. All this just felt different now. All she wanted was to enjoy this moment and cherish it for the rest of her life. After all this, the match was over, and Lena surrendered to Gang Chan's might. She was tired and beaten, and was ready to admit that she was wrong about him before. For her, he was now a real man, but she said that she wanted more, a second round, right away. But then she noticed something. Gang Chan was already beaten up, on the floor, not able to move at all. This scared her a lot, not knowing what to do in a situation like this. A while later, Gang Chan woke up looking at the ceiling of the room. Worried, Lena asked him if he was all right, while he was just waking up from the faint. She was taking care of him after he passed out, after she placed him on her lap, so he could rest properly. She told him that she was giving him the special treatment since he passed out because of her, and she wanted to be a good person with him. He sat down, not believing that he had passed out. He thought that his stamina was all right since when he fought Siyoung, he never passed out, and what he did today was not as hard as the last time. He even wondered if he should be happy for not dying in a situation like this. He also noticed that even if he had fought not long ago, he was already getting enough energy to have another match right away. Then Lena spoke, saying that she was sorry. This caught Gang Chan's attention. She said that she had light intentions when she asked him to go out on a date, so she just wanted to know what he really was, if he was someone to watch out for or not, and it took a lot of time in his schedule, so she wanted to apologize. Then asked him if he was afraid. Gang Chan asked what she meant. Lena said that the guy from earlier was much bigger than him. He could have gotten hurt badly just because of her. If she was him, maybe she would have run for her life. But Gang Chan answered that today she was his girlfriend. So he could not let a guy like that treat his girlfriend as a thing and drag her away. This caught her attention and asked him if he was really serious about that. Then she pushed him on the bed and asked him if he really was her boyfriend for today. Then they still had time before midnight, so they should use their time properly. And he had to get ready for what was going to come. Meanwhile, in the apartment, Siyoung was bored because neither Lena nor Lena were home. She wondered if there was something she could do alone. She wondered if she should go to Gang Chan's house because there had been a long time since she went there. She remembered the things he did to her in their wrestling match. Then she got all red and said that those things had nothing to do with her. She was angered because, according to her, all this was his fault, not hers. Then she decided to clear her mind by taking a dumbbell and training a little, but couldn't think about another thing but Gang Chan while she was in her training session. She was saying that this was a real workout, and what she did with Gang Chan was nothing compared to what she was now doing. But then she fell on the floor exclaiming that this was not the same feeling at all. But then she checked the room, checking if there was no one there, then took out something that looked like a vegetable and started to do some experiments with it. The experiment was curious and made her feel a little good. But in the end, it was not enough and failed completely. She knew that she needed Gang Chan one way or another and said to herself that she needed to try that. Then she opened the closet door and tried to look for something. Then found what she was looking for. A box. She opened it and it was full of a lot of random things, but then pressed the bottom of the box to open a secret compartment and found what she was looking for. She was curious because she had never seen anything like this in the past. It looked like some kind of weapon for her. This belonged to the other mysterious roommate called Yonda. And thinking about it a bit more, she wondered if this was really Yonda's boyfriend. This was not physiologically or morally possible according to her. Imagining it in some sort wouldn't feel right for her at all. She just wanted to go back to the moment when Gang Chan was wrestling with her and repeat that experience over and over again. She thought about how she could make it happen again. Maybe she should ask it right away. Direct and simple. But the sole idea made her blush a lot because that was very embarrassing for her. So for now, that little toy would work out for now, at least to relieve a little frustration and save a little of her pride. But right away, someone was entering. This scared Seung to death in that instant. It was Lena who came to the apartment, almost dying and trembling a lot, about to pass out. Seung greeted her, asking what was wrong with her. Is she hurt? Because she looked tired, while she was worried because she hid the toy in the most uncomfortable place possible. Lena said that she was fine, and asked Seung how she was. Fine? Then Lena said that it didn't matter because she should just go to sleep, then gave her a best friend slap in the back, saying that of course she was right because she was in a great shape, but this was unfortunate for Seung because of the things she was already doing. She tried so hard to regain her composure and act as if nothing had happened. But then, when Lena left, she fell because that really hurt her. Then she picked up the thing from the floor, analyzing every detail of it, checking if there was a way to make this little experiment of hers a bit more efficient. Then went to her room and found her box of cigarettes. Then she had an idea. Meanwhile, in the company where Gang-chan worked, he was arriving while his legs were trembling. One of his friends got closer to him to check on him because he seemed to be almost dead, then offered him a helping hand to help him get to his workspace, asking him if something bad had happened yesterday because he didn't show up for work, and now he looked like a zombie. Gang-chan tried to say something but couldn't. Then his companion asked, worried, if the grizzly girl he mentioned before was the one responsible for his current state. Gang-chan reassured him that it was not the case. The companion admitted that in his imagination, he pictured the image of her breaking him a bone with a low kick, because she could even break a wooden baseball with her bare legs in a kick, but Gang-chan repeated that it was not the case. Worried, his companion asked him where she hit him, but Gang-chan replied that he wished this was because she hit him. Then Gang-chan already got to his workplace and sat down, beaten up. Then he thought how he had messed up things, because on top of Seung, now he had to deal with Lena too. Now, things had gotten too complicated for him and he didn't know what he was gonna do. He was thinking about what to do but couldn't get an answer from his inner self. He was finished now, he needed to do something about this. But then a pile of work arrived on his desk all of a sudden, and he asked who in the hell is gonna force him to do all that work on his own now. It was his boss, who asked him if he enjoyed his vacation, and pointed out that for some reason he looked more tired than before his vacation. Gang-chan reassured him, saying that he was fine, and his boss told him that they now had a new team leader coming tomorrow. He asked if he heard right. His boss told him that he heard that the new team leader was brilliant like Gang-chan was, but there had been a lot of commotion in her past workplaces. He said that he should not worry about that now, but tomorrow, and no matter how good she could be, she would surely need time to get accustomed to this new place, and asked him to help her until she felt like she was ready for this company. This surprised Gang-chan, and he asked if he was really serious about that. His boss told him that he was as brilliant as her, and so he deduced that they would get along, and he trusted him a lot, and knew that this job would be a piece of cake for him. Gang-chan tried to argue that, but his boss was already leaving, saying that the new leader wanted that work done first and he only had to make a few changes, and since he just got back from his little vacation, then he could do this super quickly and without any fail on that. But Gang-chan didn't see it like that. For him, these were a lot of files stacked so high like a game of Jenga. But the boss told him to consider this the new team leader's gift. This annoyed Gang-chan a little, and he screamed, frustrated that nothing was going his way at all. After all this time, it was already night. Gang-chan came out of the job tired and with baggy eyes. He already wanted to quit. He worked overtime more often than the times he got to go home. But then he sniffed something bad. He was angry because it was cigar smoke. It was Seung smoking again. This really angered him a lot. But before acting, he thought that maybe this was his opportunity to turn the tables around to his advantage. He might relieve some stress he had inside by doing some wrestling sessions with her. And if he was lucky enough, he could even kick them out of his house. He was ready and pressed the doorbell to Seung's house. While he waited for a response, he thought that this was his opportunity and was already planning all his moves to kick them out for good. Then the door opened. Then he started speaking about the deal they had about quitting smoking. But he was surprised to see that she was not Seung. She was a green-haired girl that he had never seen in his life. While drinking, she asked him who he was and what he wanted. Gang-chan thought that Seung was the only person who smoked in that apartment, and he was sure that he didn't get into the wrong apartment. But the person in front of him was actually a stranger to him. She asked him to tell her what he wanted with her now. He tried to say a word, but he couldn't. She asked him to hurry up because he was disturbing her day off. He tried to regain his composure and tell her to not smoke, or to ask her who she was, anything. But she got tired of him and asked if he had nothing to say and was about to leave him talking with the door, but Gang-chan asked her to wait a moment. She then asked again what he wanted, and Gang-chan asked her to stop smoking. He told her that there were other people in this building and her smoke was very annoying because all that smoke got into his house, and that was really a bother for him. Then he yelled that she should be more considerate to the neighbors. All this while he was wondering where Seung was. because she was the one who accepted the deal a long time ago. Meanwhile, the silence dominated the place. They just stared at each other for a while, until she spoke. She asked what would happen if she didn't stop smoking. This startled Gang-chan. She asked him why he couldn't mind his own business when she was smoking in her house, and also said that he should just move if he was not happy with the smoke. Then she turned around to close the door and told him that she had nothing else to say to him, and she would keep smoking. She also commented that with his suit, he looked like a peddler. This angered Gang-chan. Then he, fueled by a serious anger, was about to take the cigar right from her mouth to force her to quit smoking for good. But in a quick blink of an eye, and without him even knowing how it happened, she applied a wrestling move, and yes, it was for real this time, crushing him right into the ground with a loud thud. He was left totally trembling from the intense pain of being thrown onto the floor by that move. She was standing on top of him, for real this time again, and flat out challenged him to try to lay a finger on her again, and told him straight up that the next time it would be even worse for him. Then she stretched like a person who had just seriously beaten someone up and was clearly proud of being so annoying with the smoke. Then she just walked into the apartment and said that this would be the final end of their conversation. She also turned around and told him not to be so uptight. Then she closed the door while telling him that he was a tiring person. Gang-chan was left in the dark, totally scared of the person who just put him into the ground so easily. He wondered if he should just report her, and also wondered how there could not be a single normal person living in that house. Then he had this sudden realization that he really wanted to move to another house. Meanwhile, in another place, Si-young was holding her cigar and lighter, wondering if this was the only way to actually start something with Gang-chan. She was in his room, wondering what else she could do. She was in doubt because she promised him not to smoke, yet this was the only way she knew. Then she was thinking that she shouldn't be so hesitant because she was a person who always got what she wanted, because she was the infamous Mopo Grizzly Bear. Her plan was simple. Step 1, take a delicious puff of a cigarette. Note of the editor: it is not delicious, it is bad. Never smoke. And if you do stop smoking right now, or else you will die in 3 seconds, really. However, do this in his room. Then, when he came into the room, he would ask her if she smoked, but she would totally deny it. Then she would pull her shirt down a little, and would show him the cigar. She would tell him to take a sniff if he didn't believe her. Then he would immediately want to do anything with her. This was the perfect plan. She even bled from her nose while blushing, just imagining it. This was the perfect plan to get what she wanted, and to teach him who was the boss here. Because ever since he had those matches with her, he had been very cocky. But then Gang-chan entered the room and asked her what she was doing with cigarettes in her hand. She was speechless for a moment while looking at him. Then, with a silly smile, she hid the proof behind her. This angered him, telling her that he had told her countless times not to smoke. He was already really pissed off with work, and he couldn't stand the woman who he had just met. He asked her if she couldn't just stop smoking. That's the only thing he asked of her. He also asked her if she thought that she could just walk all over him. While he was still scolding her, a punch passed close to his face, making a huge crack on the wall, and told him to stop yapping. While getting closer to him, she said that even if she said she was going to walk all over him, he couldn't do anything because he was just a little sissy. In trying to intimidate him, she asked if he thought that she was easy just because he had beaten her a few times. She asked him what he could do if he was just a little brat. Then she asked him to not look at her in the eyes. So he obeyed and looked somewhere else. She let out a cold laugh and said that this was ridiculous, and this pissed her off. Then something caught Gang-chan's attention. Then she asked him if he wanted to get hurt or what, and asked where he was looking while she was talking to him. Then he pointed that there was something weird on his bed, and Si-young turned to see what it was. He asked what it was, because he had never seen anything like that before. Si-young told him that she would beat him twice as bad if he kept changing the subject. But then the weird thing was revealed. Gang-chan asked if it was what he thought it was. While Si-young was speechless and startled that she forgot to put it away, and now Gang-chan had found her little secret. She tried to get right away to the thing and hide it from him, but it was too late. Gang-chan was already inspecting it. He asked why it was there. Si-young tried to say a lot of excuses to save her skin, but couldn't say anything logical, mainly because there was no logical explanation. She was completely blushed because she was trapped. He asked her if she did that in his room. It was shown then that indeed, 2 hours ago, she entered the room and lied on his bed. Then she found one of Gang-chan's coats. Then she wore it. Also, she noted that it smelled like Lena, but she thought it was because he liked the same perfume she used. However, she had a lot of time until he could get home, so she decided to recreate the situation she had lived with him, with the material she had on hand. But then she realized that none of that felt real enough for her. So she just decided to lie there and take a little nap while she waited him to come back from his job. But now, in the present, she was already in problems for being so stupid that she left that thing lying around besides her, instead of putting it back in its rightful place. She blamed herself. She couldn't believe she was that idiot to leave it in plain sight. Now she had no excuse to get away with it. She was too embarrassed to say a thing. Gang Chen noticed that and asked her politely if she did it or not. She tried to act as if she didn't know what he was talking about, also said that it was not hers, but all the proof proved otherwise. She was there with that thing, and both had the same scent. It was obvious that she was lying to him. She was cursing in her mind. Now she had no excuses and was trapped in a dead end. But she refused to accept a loss. She had to be more assertive in a situation like this, so she would now try to get into his head. She asked him why he was bothering her that much, but he just asked her one question. Then she got up while saying that since he caught her, then she would just tell him the truth. With a scary face, she told him that indeed she did it in his room and asked him if he had a problem with that, while Gang Chan wondered if she was not ashamed of just revealing it right away. Then she said that she was not satisfied with the matches they had in the past because he sucked at this and he was beaten so quickly. This offended him a little. Then she got closer and asked him if he had a problem with that, and told him that if he had a problem with that, then he should just show her that he deserved a little respect from her, and said that the thing was better than him in every way possible, and mocked him a little more, asking him if he really thought that he won over her, and didn't she let him win instead. She kept mocking him a little, but this was enough to make him angry. Then he ordered her to prepare and wait for him in the usual spot because he was ready to make her fall. She accepted and moved, still with an arrogant tone. Her plan went better than she expected. Now she would have her rematch. Meanwhile, he was getting ready to make her eat her words and make her lose again, while saying that he would make her ask for mercy. But then he paused. He felt something on his body, thanks to Lena and what she did to him last time they had a wrestling match. His stamina was already almost over, and maybe he could not last anything at all. Maybe he would die if he continued with this. He needed more time to recover. While he was thinking what to do, Seung was wondering why he was taking more time than before to start their match. But then she felt it, and it was not the real deal. It was the thing she was trying to hide. He tried to excuse himself, that now that she brought it, they should use it. She accepted this for a moment, but then she took his hand. She was tired of that stupid thing, and wanted the real match, not weapons, and wanted to force him to do it properly. She was already angry, and looked like wanting to end him in the spot if he didn't do what she told him. He tried to stop her, saying that it would be boring if they did it normally, and wanted to put some new rule to this match. He thought about it because he was just trying to buy some time. She was about to lose it, but accepted as long as she got what she was looking for. After some time, he tied her up. Then he was ready. It was like tying up a tiger. She felt something weird and wanted to be untied. She tried to free herself, but not even her superhuman strength could release her. The plot armor nerfed her, for the sake of the plot, I guess. Then he put her a wrestling mask to look like Catwoman. Then he teased her a bit more, but she kicked him on the back as she could to make him continue, instead of just playing around. It was too late for him to regain himself. He had to continue, or else something bad would happen. And this made her happy. P.S. She looks hilarious. So he decided that if he had to pass to the afterlife now, then he would, because he already got too far, and now he had to fight with all his might. Meanwhile, Seung thought that this was the first time she was in the position of the one being beaten up. In the past, she would have never thought she would be the one to be submitted. After a long time of them both trying their best, and her feeling like she was going to pass out, he proceeded to untie her before she would go crazy and destroy every bone of him. After all the commotion of yesterday and today, he felt very tired, and like he was going to meet someone who was above all. But Seung was not over yet. She reminded him that he promised her that he would grant her a wish if he failed to meet her expectations. Seung was thinking that he screwed it because he couldn't control himself. Probably she would get him beaten up, or maybe she would want to get to smoke back. But then she handed him the thing that I don't remember the name, but was to tie her up. I think it was a belt. She wanted the match with stipulation once again. He asked her if this was really what she wanted. She didn't say a word. He asked her if she really was into this stuff. This angered her, saying no. He teased her, saying that she was asking him to do it again, and told her that she should have told him that she liked these stipulations. She angered even more, because she swallowed her pride to ask him to do this. Then she threw the stuff to him and said that if he didn't want to do it, then he should not. Because she wasn't going to beg anything from him, not even this. Then she decided that she was just going to take a nap and called him a Minuteman. But then he noticed something. This was his favorite luxury belt made from premium cow leather. Note of the editor, I didn't think that was a belt. I thought it was a necklace or a wristband. He was sad because he barely used it, and now it was ruined. But Seung said that he was the one who made her use it. She called it a cheap belt, because it was just like its owner. This touched a nerve in Gang Chan, and then he thought that maybe he wants to get paid back by her right away. But after some thought, he decided to just lie next to her and get some sleep, because he couldn't even lift a finger. But then he saw her lying at his side, and something like a fire turned in him. He couldn't control it, not even a little. Then he hugged her tightly. She noticed it and felt something. Just a second ago, he felt like he was going to pass out for the lack of energy, but now he felt like he could not stop any kind of power he was feeling inside him. She tried to stop him, but decided that it was better to be quiet about it. After some time, they already finished the match. Then she decided to take the cigar and smoke a little. But he stopped her, saying that he wasn't done yet. Then they spent all the night training their abilities to become even stronger. A day passed, and it was already day. In the office, everyone were looking at Gang-chan in disbelief, wondering what happened to him. He was in a wheelchair, being pushed by his best friend in the world. Everyone were wondering if he had an accident or something like that for him being in a wheelchair, and were wondering why he didn't just call to notify that he was sick. The friend told the coworkers to stop laughing about Gang-chan and go to do their work. Then he asked Gang-chan if the grizzly was the one who did that to him, if he got into her territory, or what he did for her to do this to him, and also recommended him to go and see a doctor. But then while he was telling him that he was always going to support him, a marker fell in front of the wheelchair. This made him fall on the floor and even spilled some red liquid that seemed like watermelon juice. All this while he thought that he was really gonna die at this rate. But then someone stood in front of him, telling him that she thought that he looked like a CEO trying to play the sympathy game. She was drinking coffee while saying that she was looking forward to meet him because she has heard rumors that he had exceptional skills. Also pointed that he was 20 minutes late, so he should just get to work right away. Gang-chan noticed something about that woman who was just underestimating him. She was the woman who applied the wrestling move, real wrestling move, to put him on the ground. She was standing there looking down on him. He just stared at her, wondering what she was doing there. She asked him to stop making a scene. Since the department head was gonna come soon, he obeyed. Meanwhile, the workers around were discussing that she was the woman who had been the talk those past months. She looked like she wanted to assert dominance among the workers right away. Gang-chan was still on his knees about to stand up while the rest of the workers kept talking about them. Then she walked past him, asking him to please come work right away, or else she would have to report him to the higher-ups about his poor attendance, and that would be really annoying for her. She wanted all to be efficient and not waste any time at all. Meanwhile, Gang-chan was remembering the first time he met her. In his mind, she was very cynical. Or maybe she just seemed cynical. She was the kind of people he hated the most. Then she also called the workers' attention because she didn't like to hear them chit-chat while working, and warned Gang-chan to be careful from now on because she was not happy to see him. Gang-chan didn't know why a person like her was there in a job like that, and only hoped that he could avoid seeing her as much as possible. The thing that angered him the most was the fact that she talked to him with an air of superiority, as if she felt that she was better than him in some way. Then he remembered that the boss and coworkers talked about a new team leader, because the last team leader got laid off for embezzlement. The thought of her being the new team leader was a disgusting idea that he didn't like at all. Even begged to God to not let him be involved with her at all. Later, she introduced herself. She said that she was Yonda-cha, the new team leader. Gang-chan was not happy about this. He was pulling his own hair and just wanted to get out of there as soon as possible. Then she kept with her speech, saying that all she wanted them to do was do their job and not get in the way of anyone. Not even her. The boss interrupted her, asking if she got into a fight with anyone in the team. While she was saying that they all had to do their best from now on, everyone were sweating. A sense of weariness filled the office, and nobody wanted to look to each other. And she had something more to say to the workers. And looking to Gang-chan, she stated that she didn't want anyone to mix the personal feelings with work, what scared Gang-chan a little bit. Then she passed by him, expecting them to do all the work. Gang-chan pressed his nose, saying that all this was a headache. Then remembered that Lena told him before that they had one more housemate, and she was never home because she always spent her time in work. He let a slight sigh because he was sure that Yuanda was the housemate Lena mentioned before. If something went wrong, then the smoking problem would come back, or they could make his life even harder. Maybe Lena already told Yeda that they did some thighs like wrestling before, and for that reason she was going against him. However, whether he liked it or not, they'll be working together, and he had to deal with that. He was really tired for what had been happening in his life lately. For that reason, he had been very dozy. Then his gaze became tired more and more, that much that he could not keep his eyes open. Then he was almost asleep, trying to regain his composure. After all, he already finished the proposal he was supposed to write, so it was better for him to stay like that for a bit. Yonda noticed how he was almost asleep, nodding, trying to keep his head in one place without moving it. So she slammed a pile of papers on his desk, what scared him immediately for the noise. He clenched his fist in anger, stating that it was not the first time that someone tried to put their work on his hands, trying to make him do it all for them. He wondered who was it this time. Now he was gonna make them pay it. But then he noticed that it was Yonda who told him that he was late this morning. That meant that he had enough sleep, but somehow he was still tired. Then told him that she went through all those papers in her day off, so he had to approve them. This could help him stay awake. He asked if he had to do it with all of them. She pointed that they were written in a poor format with so many typos, so he could go over them again if he didn't trust her. He was surprised that she went all over those papers in only one day. After all, it was what he could do in 3 days, and she even worked at home. He wondered if she was a reptilian. Also, see, here is an anime figure. I like those. Share the video so I can buy one, please. However, Gang-chan was certain that work was going to get more tiring from now on. While doing the work, he was staggering because Lena and Seyoung took all his energy from the weekend, and now he just wanted to pass to the other life. He was being treated like a slave for 2 girls, and now by his boss who doesn't like him, it was like a living hell for him. While he was planning on disappearing, he tripped, falling to the floor along all the paperwork. Right behind Yonda, he was already ready to go to a coffin, in my opinion. Yonda called his attention, scolding him, stating that he could not even carry a small pile of papers. She said that he was too weak and recommended him to work out. The words weak didn't fall good on Gang-chan. While getting up, he understood that they had not a good start, but it was not something that she should be saying to him. He stated that he wouldn't be like this if someone wouldn't through him last time, and also pointed to the fact that she had been very cold since she got there. Then she helped him picking up some papers, saying that there had been a misunderstanding. She just told her subordinate to be on time, and he came in a wheelchair and fell down by himself. Considering that this was her first day there, she would think that he was the one who was messing with her. Gang-chan didn't like the argument. Then she bumped on his shoulder, asking if he wasn't trying to get back at her for the last time, like a loser. Then he mentioned the names of Seyoung, Lena, and even Lin. No one in that house were normal people. This made Yuna have a gloomy look when she heard those words. Then she turned, and looking at him with a threatening gaze, asked him if he knew them. He thought that he had said something wrong. But then someone called their attention. It was the boss, who was standing like a chill guy with no problems with anyone. What a nice sir. He got closer, asking them why they were bickering already. He placed his hand on the shoulder of them both, and with a bright smile, he notified them that starting today, their team was now in charge of the company's key project. They screamed, not believing that now they were a team, and they looked to each other with a disgusting look, not believing that they had to work with a sociopath. Then, after some time on the roof on the company, Gan-chan was trying to convince the boss to not put them in the same team, saying that they were behind many proposals, and it's only been a day since Yuna joined the team, but the boss already decided that. Gang-chan didn't know what project was that, but he preferred to be paired with someone else. Then the boss asked him if he was acting like that because of the rumors, but Gang-chan had no idea about any rumors. Then he said that he didn't know what happened in her previous workplace, but they said that she was a gold digger who got kicked for seducing a married man, and he asked Gang-chan if he didn't hear the rumors. He also said that she was not one person who could express her emotions so easily. The boss then said that normally the company would put in charge one of their employees and wouldn't hire someone from the outside and put them in a leadership role right away. He was against that at first too. But the game that the rival company made that raised their revenue more than theirs was a game Inc. That was the most popular game nowadays, a crazy gacha goddess mobile. That was her idea. This surprised Gang-chan a lot. This game was always in the most downloaded games list. It even turned into a webtoon. Also was the one that got adapted into a web animation. This let Gang-chan thinking because he was a fan of that game, he even had a cushion with a character from that game. Then the idea he had about her changed. She turned to be a pretty incredible person. The boss said that she was famous in the industry. Even Gang-chan got caught in the middle of the work playing that game, and Gang-chan admitted that indeed he was a fan of that game. But he asked what it had to do with her being in charge of their team. Their department was very different from mobile games. Not even the boss knew how everything turned out like this either. But he suspected that their department would be in charge of the reboot of that game in marketing. Gang-chan said that he couldn't believe it because from his point of view, only the artifacts changed. But the boss asked if he was like that because they gave the position of team leader to her instead of him, but Gang-chan said that it was not the reason either. However, the boss said that those were the reasons why things turned out to be like this, and in order to make this project succeed, they needed to understand the game. The higher-ups really invested in this project. Even the president came, so he thought that they were really dedicated to leading this project to success, and this project would become a test to see is Yuna really has the skills she said she had. Also, his year-end assessment score would depend on this project. In his mind, he suspected that he already screwed things up. Then Chill Boss said that from his point of view, Yuna was good at her job, but she doesn't know about the details of their work yet. Also, the previous leader seemed to have stashed away a lot of money because he went straight to prison. In other words, nobody could teach her how they worked in the company. According to the Chill Boss, Gang-chan was the sweetest and kindest person in the department, so he should be able to help her put. But what Gang-chan understood was that in the eyes of everyone, he was the biggest pushover. Then someone told them that there was no need for that. It was Yuna who told him that she was fine in her own. While having a cigar in her hands, viewers never smoke smoking would make the sequel of Silk Song delay like 100 years, and Half-Life will never have a third part if you keep smoking. for real. However, she said that she has always been in charge of it, and more importantly, while lighting the cigar, she said that she didn't think that he was going to be that helpful. Rather than a help, he was going to be more like a nuisance. This angered Gang-chan, wondering what she thought he was to talk him like that. Then he told her that he tried his best to not get worked up in front of the boss, but he didn't want to be in the same team as her. He was also holding back. They both started to argue and yell to each other. This made the boss very sad because they could not get along. And this made him sad, mainly because he would not get any promotion at this rate. Then he interrupted them and told them that he wanted to ask them something. He asked if they were lovers in the past, and this made them really angry and looked at him as if they had murderous intentions towards him. He apologized for that. Anyways, he already decided that they both were going to work together and there was nothing they could do about it, so they had to accept it no matter what. Later, the best friend in the world of Gang-chan asked if what he heard was true. He said that there was no way that he was going to team up with Yuna. She was new and nobody knew her. He told Gang-chan that he should be careful because she was very cold and selfish. He even heard rumors that she got caught seducing a married man, but also suspected that Gang-chan might have a crush on her, but Gang-chan quickly denied that. He said that she was not her type. He said that she smoked all day and had big bags under her eyes, also looked scary, also was very cold and hysterical. Then he kept talking when he noticed that she heard everything he just said. He tried to get some help from his friend, but he vanished immediately. She, when heard that, slammed the table. And before that situation, the boss already told Gang-chan that they had to go on a business trip in 4 days. He begged him to do that for him and help her in every way he could. He was worked up because he didn't know what to do now that he was trapped in a situation like that with a person he hated and whom had heard him talking ill on her back. Normally, he would be happy to go on a free trim, but he couldn't go on a trip like this. He couldn't even talk to her. He thought that he needed to get close to her for the sake of this project. But thinking about that, they fought with each other. He was rude to her. He cannot think about anything to make her soft her mood and make her get along with him so this project would end up being a success. Then, holding his phone, he sensed it vibrated. He received a message. The message said that he was cocky and that she received a lot of declarations of love and that Si-young was her friend and also had a friend that goes to 3 points, read more, etc. He noticed that she said explicitly that they lived together, already at night. The girls were resting. While Lena was thinking of the way that Gang-chan treated her the last time they had a wrestling match, she couldn't believe that she begged for it. She feels like any woman who has no value, while thinking that this was the worst experience ever. Then touched Si-young a little in a very cynical way. This enraged her and asked what was wrong with her, that she was touching in a prohibited spot. But then they heard that someone was calling them at the door very hurriedly. He arrived almost without breath and asked them if their 4th housemate was named Yonda. Then he asked them to tell everything about her, also the things she likes and hates. They both were surprised to hear that from Gang-chan and asked him how he knew her. After he explained them, they couldn't believe him. They couldn't believe that Yonda was his boss and she really had the job at his company. They thought this was nonsense, just like Gang-chan. But they were sure that it was her, because he described her as someone with no sparkle, cold demeanor, and someone who could body slam a man. He described her perfectly. Also, Si-young and Yuna were the only ones who smoked. Si-young and Lena found it funny that he found the woman who threw him into the ground as his boss. It was like a plot of a comedy movie. Also, look, there is a Switch. They surely played Silk Song. I cannot play it because I don't have time, so shared this and I will play it in my free day when this gets to 1 million views. Dearly yours, the editor of Ace Manhwa's Kibo. All their laugh surely angered Gang-chan, and they asked him if he did something terribly wrong in his past life. They deduced that he should have betrayed his country or something like that for life, to punish him like this. Then Gang-chan told them that this was the exact reason why he was asking them for help. He wanted to get closer to her, or maybe know her weakness. After all, he had to work with her from now on, and he was already facing a very hard obstacle. All he knew was that she was older than him, and that she was cold, and also she was taller than him in high heels. This worried the girls a little because he was conscious of that. Si-young then said that she really knew what she hated, and Gang-chan asked her what it was. She said that she hated him, and she bets that they both started bickering right off the bat. This made Lena laugh to death, and Gang-chan revealed that indeed they fought, but they should not make fun of that neither. Then right away, he felt like an idiot for asking help from them, but he could not think of any better way to get his current goal. Then they asked him if he really thought if they would help him with that. Si-young said that he had been ignoring her messages, so she would not help him. Si-young looked surprised because they exchanged numbers and asked since when. To this, Lena said that they did that several months ago. This angered Si-young because he didn't give her his number. He said that she never asked his number, but then to calm her down, he decided to give her his number. After giving his number to Si-young, he said that they didn't understand the situation he was into, and it was no funny at all. This was a really serious situation, Everyone in the work is counting on him and Yuanda. All this situation made him feel like he was sinking in a ship. He thinks that he cannot work with her as a team like this. Not even that, he thinks that she wouldn't even talk to him at all. She even smokes. Then Seyoung said something. She said that if this was that important, then they had to have a heart-to-heart talk with each other. She mentioned that it would not be hard because in the past, she had some heart-to-heart conversations with people she had problems with, and everything went smoothly. But Gangchan and Lena knew the reason of that submission of the people she talked with in the past. Gangchan thought that they were really unhelpful, but he had no other option than talk to her head-on, while he was wondering what he would do if he did things even worse while in the back. The girls were still making fun of him and his situation. Lena then said that in reality she didn't know a lot of her either. This was maybe because she didn't come home too often. This made Gangchan question if they were really housemates. Lena admitted that she knew that she liked to play video games and drink, and maybe she had the Switch too that the editor still is not able to buy at all, and that makes him really sad. Then she said that maybe this fact about her would be of no use to him at all. But Yonda liked to spend time alone, and also mentioned that probably she was disgusted of men right now, this called Gangchan attention. She started to tell him that Yuanda had a boss who tried to hit on her. She heard that she threw him on the ground, just like she did with Gangchan. Then, connecting the dots, Gangchan deducted that this was the reason why she quit her previous job and joined the company. Then he let a big sight, and asked which was the best way to become her friend without making things awkward. Lena commented that he was really desperate if he came to them for help. Then she, hugging Seyoung, relieved him, telling him that they both knew a way to make her friendlier. In her mind, with a slight smile, she told to herself that she was starting to get pissed and bored, and this was going to get funny. Then, Gangchan asked her which was that marvelous idea she had. She said that it would be very boring if she told him the idea right away, then asked him to bring some drinks so they can get into the details. Later, to satisfy them and get what he wanted from them, he bought a lot of drinks and snacks for them. Liana was very happy. Then, Gangchan asked her if she really had a real plan. Since H spent a lot of money on them, then she said that she actually had one. Then, due to the smell of the food, Lin arrived, because where there is food there is always a Lin. Then, enjoying the delicacies, Lin asked Gangchan what he was going to do. After he had gathered more information about Yonda, she wanted to know which was his plan. He had no idea. Then Seyoung said that Yonda was clever enough to not fall into his cheap tricks unless he knew her weakness, and suggested him to show her his friend because there was a chance she liked it. She said that this was the only good thing about him. This startles Gangchan, who thought that Seyoung was already drunk. This comment made her friends mock her because it seemed they knew something that they did not. Then she justified herself, saying that someone should never judge a book by its cover, so she just assumed, and we know that it is a lie, as a curious data. She doesn't eat chicken skin, because if she did, then her working out would be in van, so she feeds Lena with it, despite the skin being the best part. However, they ate a little, and Lena suggested him to just relax, and don't beat too much around the bush, and just drink and eat. But he didn't want to drink because he was a bad drinker, and he had to work tomorrow. But then she asked him to please drink just one glass of soju. Since they all were already there anyways, she already had a plan to help him. Then he accepted to drink only one glass, so he would not be beaten by the drink the next day. P.S. Never drink, alcohol is bad, and if outdrink, Metroid 4 will be cancelled. However, it was already night, and one screen was turned on showing nothing more than a white color. It is bad for the OLED screens anyway. There she was, Yunda, who was hurting her eyes by just looking a white color. She remembered how the boss, who told her that this was her only and last chance to retrieve what was stolen from her, knowing that his company and himself were counting on her, if everything went okay, then she would get everything, including her revenge. She took off one of her shoes, while thinking that she cannot erase the image of Gangchan from her head. How he knocked the door of her house and knew the names of her best friends, then saw the photo of them in what seemed to be her birthday party. Then saw the contact of Seyoung and thought what they were doing right now. Then she decided to call them. The phone rang for a while. Meanwhile, in the apartment, the girls were already asleep, so Gangchan took the phone and answered it, asking who was it. Yonda in the other part of the phone asked who he was. Also asked why he was answering Seyoung's phone. Worriedly, he saw who the contact was, and it was Yonda. He confused his phone with Seyoung's, and he was sure that this was the worst time to make this mistake of all times. Yonda recognized Gangchan's voice right away and asked him if it was him. Then asked if all the girls were with him while having a fierce look in her eyes that looked like she wanted to unalive him in the spot, while Gangchan was thinking about the best way to explain things to her. She asked him to put Seyoung on the phone, but she was already asleep. Yuanda told him that it was better for him to not have done absolutely nothing bad to them. Told him that he had to stay right where he was because she was going directly there. Then she hung up the phone while Gangchan was already panicked. This made no sense for her because there was no way that he could have beaten Seyoung. She suspected that he made her drunk, or maybe she drug her. The first time she saw him, he didn't seem like a bad person. Maybe she should call the police. But she considered that Mabe, this was just a misunderstanding. This while taking out the keys of her car. Decided to just go and see it for herself. Meanwhile, Gang-chan was trembling in fear, while the other girls were sleeping soundly behind him. He was sure that he was a dead man. Real death came after him. Then he tried to wake Seung up while screaming that this was not time to be sleeping because it was an emergency. But to shut him up, she gave him a kick in the ribs, and this led him trembling in pain on the floor. And making a Dark Sode reference, he sensed that he was now closer to death than ever in his life. Then he decided to leave her alone, and instead try to wake the others up. First he tried with Lin, telling her that Yonda was in her way there. And when he thought that she was awake and asked her to help him wake everyone pee, she butt his hand as if it was a mint-flavored pig's trotter. This made him scream with a lot of pain, and the mark of the bit was clear in his hand. Then there was Lena, who was drunk and was taking her clothes off because she felt that it was too hot there. But Gang-chan covered her with a blanket, what was annoying for Lena. While feeling the pain in his hand for the bit, he thought that she was already close because the office was close to the apartment. He couldn't even think about an excuse to tell her in a situation like this. Then someone called at the door, banging it as if there was no tomorrow. She hurried him up to open the door, or else she was going to call the police. She heard all the commotion inside. Also, this was the only house with the light on. She could only give him 3 seconds to open the door. In 1, he was getting up. But then he thought that he had no reason to be afraid since he did nothing wrong, so he should be more confident. At 2, he was already opening the door. Then, when he opened the door, Yonda just walked in while Gang-chan tried to explain the situation to her. Then she saw Si-young asleep, Lena with the blanket almost covering nothing, and Lin sucking Si-young's foot for some reason. All the proof was there, and it was clear for her that something bad happened. While Gang-chan tried to tell her that it was all just a misunderstanding, he did nothing wrong. But then she kicked him in a place here. Nobody wants to be kicked. It even hurt me. I felt it so badly. Please, someone bring me to the hospital, leaving him in the floor for the pain he was in. While trembling, Yonda told him that he had to get up and that he was a pervert, because she would take him to the police station. But someone called her attention. It was Lena who greeted her. Then, after explaining all the context without pretext, she asked her if it was real that they just had a late dinner all together. Lena told her that it was the truth, he was just their neighbor, and they were very close, and also said that he had always been nice to them. He didn't even have the guts to scheme something that evil. According to her point of view, all he would do in a situation like this would carry them to a bed and cover them with a blanket, even if they were as God brought them to this world. She explained that they have been relying on him because they have been short on money lately, and as they wanted something nice to eat, they came into his house. But then Gang-chan was enraged and had enough of it all. Complained about the body slam and now the kick in the lower part. He said that she had crossed the line. While Lena was scared, and Yu-Nura was speechless, he said that he had been nice to them because they were neighbors, but he was not gonna let that slide anymore. He demanded them to leave his house right away or else he would call the police. But all that only happened in his imagination. In reality, he didn't say anything and just let a little sight. He could not treat her Yunda like this because if he DDID, then the project of the company that was that important to him and everyone else would be ruined, so he had to be in his best behavior, whether he liked it or not, so the best thing he could do right now was try to turn things around to his advantage. Then Yonda told Lena to go inside and get some sleep because she wanted to have a conversation with Gang-chan. Lena agreed. Then she left the place, while Gang-chan wondered what she wanted to talk about. Then Yonda proceeded to ask him for apologies for the misunderstanding. While fixing her hair told him that she had been overly sensitive, and had a lot of things happening to her lately, and they had more misunderstandings to resolve between them. Then she took a bottle of an alcoholic beverage known as soju. She wanted to talk to him over some soju. After that, something happened that Gang-chan ended up on the floor, while she wanted to have something more besides a conversation, but it didn't happen immediately. Here is the context. After drinking something more and relieving a bit of stress, Gang-chan was worrying too much, thinking about the reason why she just kept drinking and drinking but hasn't said anything yet. He felt that this situation was getting super awkward. Then Yonda told him that it was okay if he hated her. She body slammed and kicked him, and also had been super mean to him, and also they would be seeing each other at work from now on, but now she wanted have a heart-to-heat conversation right now to resolve all their grudges, just what Si-young told Gang-chan to do. She continued saying that he had been feeling wronged by all the things she has done to him, and also questioned why he hasn't called the police or done anything to take back what she did to him. In his mind, the answer was obvious. If he did that, then maybe she would beat him up and condemn him. Also, the girls, as they are women, then they could say anything to the police and they would believe them, so he had more to lose than whining if he did that. This would be very bad for him. Seyoung removing him from this world in a physical way, and Lena denouncing him saying anything that would end his life in the most embarrassing way possible. Then Yuanda interrupted his thoughts, saying that she should think about a way to compensate him, as they were in the situation they are now. He could ask her anything he wanted. This called his attention. It was anything he wanted, after all. He resumed everything she has done to him. Up until now, he had a lot of things to complain, but then he placed the glass of wine on the floor and said that he was willing to put everything aside for only one thing, and asked her to stop smoking at home. She dismissed that this angered him, saying that she promised him that she would do anything he asked, also pointed that it was just basic etiquette, but then he regained himself and said that there was something he was very curious about, and asked about the rumors about her previous workplace. He wanted to know something about it. He said that she might be violent, but she didn't seem the kind of person who has done those bad things that people rumored, and since they were a team, he wanted to know what really happened. She said that it was nothing so serious, that her ex-boss tried so long and so hard to flirt with her, but he body slammed him like she did to him. Also, she had warned him a lot. Before she did that, she said that while Gang Chan was starting to get pissed off for the sole mention of that body slam, she took another sip of her glass and said that maybe that incident shocked her, or maybe she had been overworking herself. She cannot sleep without getting drunk, and also started smoking. She even suspected that it was her ex-boss who spread those rumors about her. Everyone in the job were saying that she was a gold digger or that she got some job connections. By doing that, she asked Gang Chan if they actually said that. Gang Chan told her to ignore them. He stated that she was a little cold, but he doesn't think she was the type of person who would lie about this. Also, he respected her as a developer because she made the game he liked. After hearing her story, he thought that people at work simply had the wrong impression of her, so he hoped that she was not too let down. After hearing him say that, she let out a smirk, but then he told her that it was bad to use violence and smoke whenever she wanted. Also, he asked her to stop ignoring him at work. Then she let out a button of her blouse saying that talking about her ex-boss was making her feel hot. Then, with a spicy smile, she commented that it could be the alcohol working, but it was getting hot there, and asked him if he had no problem, if she was a little more comfortable right now. He said that he didn't care, but he thought that it could be embarrassing if the girls saw that. Then she got closer to him and told him that normally she would have said that sucking up to her wouldn't work. But holding the bottle, she continued saying that she felt lonely if she drank by herself, so he should be her drinking buddy for the rest of the evening until she fell asleep. He commented that it was getting late and they had to go to work tomorrow. She said that she wasn't trying to get drunk, just wanted to fall asleep while drinking. Also, she would not force him to drink. Then he accepted to have a conversation with her while she drank. After a while drinking and eating, Gang Chen knew that something was wrong. Her boss ended up falling asleep while hugging him. He didn't know what he should do. Then she kicked the snack, saying that her life was very bad. She complained that everyone at work expected her to lead everything while talking behind her back, and said that he would have started to drink and smoke if he was in her shoes. Then asked him if he understood her. After all, they were already a family. All this while Gang Khan was begging her in his mind to let go of him. She pulled his cheek while asking him why he was not answering her. Then she hugged him while he told her that she was already too drunk. All this time he called her Miss Cha, and she told him to not call her like that while they were not at work, and just call her Yuanda. Then he asked her why she drank that much when she couldn't hold her liquor, and suggested her to go to bed right away. She closed her eyes for a moment, and he was wondering if she really fell asleep right away, and also he was looking at her saying that he didn't notice how good she looked. Then she opened her eyes, saying that she caught him. She told him that she caught him staring at her things. Now, he cannot say that she wasn't his type since he was staring at her. Then hugged him close and told him to take a look this time closer, and asked him if he still thought that she wasn't his type. Then he admitted that she was his type, just like Lena and Seyoung. This comment snapped something inside her mind. Then she tossed something of hers and asked him what about her now. This startled Gang Chan a lot. Then she ordered him to look at her, that she was prettier. Then to calm her down, Gang Chan admitted that she was pretty, and asked her if she was happy. Now, she felt silence for a while, and then blushed. Then she threw him to the sofa and asked him to show him something she wanted to see. She was decided to do something, and Gang Chan couldn't stop her at all. Then she saw what she got into, wondering if that was real, and decided that she would not stop that night to sleep precisely. However, after some action, she regained some conscious. Then she got up quickly and asked him if he was now feeling better, also said that she didn't owe nothing to him anymore, also asked him to not tell the girls about this. Then she slammed the door after asking him to not be late to work. He wondered if something was wrong with her, maybe she was shy or something like that, and reflected about what just happened. He just saw a side of hers that he didn't even thought it existed. After her, he didn't think that he would be the same with Seyoung or with Lena. He didn't know what he would do at work. From now on, he was sure that with what happened right now, everything would be more awkward between them from now on. He decided to not think about that anymore and just lie down and sleep what he could, because he had work tomorrow. Then we go to the next day. Everyone at work were feeling a stanch atmosphere. It was Gang Chan and Yoonda who were making the environment awkward. Now Gang Chan had more problems than before. He had to prepare for a presentation and plan the business trip, and now with what just happened last night, everything would be more difficult. And to make it even worse, she could have remembered everything that happened, and with all detail. Now trying to protect his own pride would not take him to anywhere, so now his mission was to try to talk to her. After all, she was his boss. He was mentally preparing. He had to be calm and act natural, as if nothing was wrong. He called her attention and then started to speak. He commented that he knew that things between them were awkward right now, but they had to get ready for the project and they had to have a meeting to discuss their plans. She immediately said that there was no need for that. She would take care of everything, he just had to not get in the way so he could just slack off while she guided him to success. She told him that he just needed to come to her like a dog if she needed him. This touched a nerve inside of him but couldn't say anything about it. Then, making a hand move, she asked him to stop cussing at her with his eyes and mentioned that he should be the team leader if he didn't like the way she leaded him. He was cursing her in his head, saying that he was the idiot for thinking that she had changed after what happened last night. After all, she talks like a moron. He could not do anything else than just go back to his seat, wondering if she would just treat him like a piece of luggage. Then if she would do that, then she should be happy to do all the work by herself without any help at all. From now on, he would never help her, even if she came to him begging and crying. Then he felt like something was strange. Maybe she blacked out. After all, she seemed so calm and composed when he came to talk to her. While he was thinking that she was very hard to read, in reality, she was blushing a lot while her heart was racing. She had hidden feelings that didn't want to show to him. A while later in the women's bathroom, Yonda was hidden while gathering her thoughts. Whenever she saw him, she couldn't focus on work. He was the only thing she could think of. She said to herself that she needed to calm down. What happened last night was just a simple mistake that she did when she was drunk. She tried to stay calm, but the only thing she could think while she closed her eyes was him. It was already a living hell for her. Everyone outside the bathroom could hear her swearing many times. Then, women outside the bathroom whispered, wondering which was her problem. They thought that it would be constipation. Yonda heard them saying that. Then she decided to stay silent, because if she said one more word, then it would be futile for her. She tried to calm herself down by doing some exercises. She thought that all that happened in her mind was caused for the stress of the work. If she knew that things would have come to this, then she would have gone further beyond with Gang Chan last night. Then she left the modern Japanese bathroom with buttons and aya and all that make them modern, and said that she should just rest when she gets home. Later in the meeting room, they were having a meeting. After all, it is the meeting room and they use it to have meetings, not anything else, I say. After the explanation of the project that Gang Chan gave to the boss, he asked Yonda what she thought about that. He thinks that it was a pretty good idea, but her mind went on vacation because she was not saying anything and wasn't seeing it anywhere at all. Then she said something that was not proper. This mad Gang Chan flinch. Then Gang Chan tried to say sock, saying that maybe what she meant was that the character should wear nice socks. This wasn't what she meant, and she was already fed off with biting socks. Gang Chan was wondering what was her problem, and thought that her mind went blank because of what happened yesterday. Maybe he had to keep his distance from her from now on. A while later, the clock was ticking. One screen was turned on showing nothing more than a white screen, making me blind because I'm writing this in the middle of the night without any sort of light. And Gangchan was stretching his arms because he already finished with his work, then turned around to see if Yunanda was still working, but she already fell asleep, so Gangchan decided to give her a hand, since if she was sleeping, then she would never get home. Then he remembered how she treated him earlier that same day, just like a dog. Then he thought that it would be a very good idea if she took care of that. Maybe he should let her sleeping there all night and make her suffer a bit. He was ready to go home while saying that no matter how good she was in her job, grunt work always takes a toll. Then, when he was decided to go home and relax alone, he saw her scream. He thought that it would be funny to see her history in the internet, the worst thing someone could do to another human being. He already thought about the possible results. Those were the ones in this image. Read it. I don't want to write every single one of them because it is already night. But then he saw the history of hers, and it was getting more and more weird that I'm not showing it, but it had to do with Gang Chan, and making them both happy, however. Gang Chan blushed while reading it. He wondered what the hell he was looking at. Then Yuanda woke up, stood up, and gave him a threatening gaze, and asked him if he enjoyed seeing how she suffered from all the work she had to do. He thought that what he did was a mistake, and he should have just left. Instead of trying to toy with her search history, he thought that there was no excuse for him now. But then he noticed something, and asked if she did all of that on the screen manually. He then said that if he used the program they had there, then she could do this in no longer that 10 minutes. So there was no reason for her to do all that manually. so she could save a lot of time. She said that she was doing a perfect job even without the program, and then Gang Chan asked her if that was the reason why she gave him all those stacks of work. She then proceeded to tell him not to rely too much on the programs and punctions, whatever she meant, because with convenience come danger. For Gang Chan, she was just trying to justify that she didn't know how to use the program while not admitting it. Then he asked her to sit down because he was going to teach her how to use the program. While he thought that it was a master move from his part, changing the subject that fast, being like, this would make it better to not to talk about the events of yesterday. After too much learning to Yonda, they both were already walking home, while Gang Chan told her that since they were in the same department, then if she had some doubts, then she should just come to him and ask anything. He could teach her anything she wanted. Then she called his attention, then said that she was hungry, and since he helped her, she would buy dinner if they ate it together. He thought about it for a second, because he could feel that if he accepted it, then something bad would happen, but also if he turned her down, then the time he spent to get closer to her would be for nothing. While Yuanda was waiting for an answer, he was picturing the search history he saw in her computer. After some thought, he accepted and came with her to eat dinner together. It was just dinner, what could possibly happen? However, after dinner, she ended up hugging him like a pillow on a bed. He thought that he should have just told her that he was going home alone. After they had dinner together, Yonda just fell to the ground after getting drunk, and nobody he called from her phone answered. If she wasn't his boss, then he would have just left her there, called police, and call it a day, and they were there because she drank, despite he told her that there would be a dinner without drinks, but she didn't obey that simple rule. And the position they were in right now was kind of weird too. He could feel her hugging him so tightly right now. He tried his best to not think about that or anything else right now. As he was just tired, he would try to get some sleep despite having his boss behind him, hugging him. And since she was asleep, he would ignore that too. But then he remembered his past. When he was a little child, he told his mother that when he grows up, then he would buy a big house and live with his pretty girlfriend. Something that the editor of this channel cannot do. But every time he asked a girl to go out, they always told him that he wasn't their type, just like the editor of this channel. They even said that they were embarrassed just by being seen them with someone like him, just like the editor of this channel. This is so sad. Sad face. But then he woke up. He felt something that was interrupting him during his flashbacks. It was all of a sudden that he realized that Yuanda was doing something to him. She was not asleep as he thought. She was doing something that was not right. In a family-friendly environment, he clenched his fist and decided that he was going to let that slip and not startle her. On her side, she thought that I was going to be all right, since she thought that he was asleep, and there was no risk of waking him up, since he was probably already too tired of work. Gang Chan was already exhausted, so he wanted to avoid having to make an effort wrestling her, so he was just going to act as if he was sleeping. But he felt like the personification of death was gazing directly to him, wondering where was his conscience. But after a while, when she overdid it, he finally reacted and asked her to stop. She thought that Gang Chan wasn't going to wake up, but he did, and said that there was nothing he could do about it. And since she wanted to do something so badly, and if she didn't, then she couldn't focus on their work, then he should just do things right, and she shouldn't do things secretly behind his back. She let out a smile and mocked him, saying that she wanted to do something. But he shouldn't be so arrogant, because she was sure that he wouldn't be enough. She said that she was just curious about him, and wanted to make sure that she wasn't seeing things. For her, he was nothing special and shouldn't be so confident. This angered him, but then she decided to play along, so her stress would be gone now. After a while, they already had their match, and she admitted that he was not bad at it. She said that she didn't think that she would do something like that, and reflected on what had just happened. She wanted to make his feel less of a man but failed. Now she couldn't look down on him just because he was a small guy. Then kept praising him a bit, despite they shouldn't have done that, since she was his boss. Also, she wanted to do it one more time, but noticed that he was already asleep. But then she realized about all the good things she had just told him. She regained herself, giving thanks that he was asleep and didn't hear a word she just said. However, after a while, Gang Chan finally woke up. He felt beaten, thinking about if he just passed out. He felt like he was being beaten to death before he passed out. Yuanda called his attention and told him not to worry, since they had a lot of time before they needed to go to work. Also told him that she was a little worried, since after all the commotion, he didn't wake up immediately. Also told him that what happened that night, just like what happened before, was just going to be between themselves, because they got drunk, and that was a mistake. She told that again because for her, he was slow at times. This was another thing that annoyed Gang Chan, because the 90% of his life, he lived angry. He thought that it was normal that people would get closer after a situation like that, and if she wasn't his boss, then he would do something very bad to her. because every word that came out of her mouth was just something to be angry at. She also told him that he should not go around telling people to have matches with him. She said that what he did was not enough for her in any sense. She was looking forward to this in the past, but she said that with his skill, she cannot say that he was something good. She said that something good would have happened if she took the lead, and also kept saying words to make him feel like he was worth nothing. He was shouting her that she liked it, and now she was just trying to pretend that she didn't. He saw it and knew that it was the best thing that has ever happened to her, but she tried to say that she just acted like that to not make him feel bad after more teasing. He just wanted to do something very bad to her, and then he decided to ask her for a rematch, but now they could do things her way. Just if she thought that she could do it properly, she decided to accept that, and now she was going to do it right on her terms. After that match, the next day, they were at a hospital. Gang Chan was already sleeping, what he sorely had needed all this time. The doctor was saying that fortunately he was safe now. Yond was there looking at what she had just done, and the doctor told her that if he fainted again, it could be dangerous for him. Right now, he needed as much rest as he could. The doctor then left and told her to leave him rest a little. Yonda thought that she was not rational back there. No matter how much she wanted to do that, she shouldn't have done that. She wasn't thinking straight and behaved like a terrible boss. She was telling herself that. She thought that she shouldn't have been so rough, but then remembered that the doctor commented that he was a little dry, so this left her thinking. But then someone called her attention. It was the boss who asked her what in the world just happened. She said that they worked late last night, and when he went to grab something to eat, he suddenly fainted. She said that according to the doctor, it was because he was overexerted and exhausted, so all the fault of this should fall on her shoulders. The boss then said that it wasn't her fault, it was his. Because he met a tight schedule without thinking about his well-being, Yonda felt guilty about that. The boss told her that he should be able to postpone the business trip for a few days. They both were the best workers he had, and he had to think a bit more about their well-being. While they were discussing that, they left Gang Chan sleep a little more so he could recover. After a while, he already rested a bit and opened his eyes. Then while waking up, he could see Lin, who was staring at him. She was there to receive him when he woke up. He was still trembling, remembering that he was earlier in the hospital, and was wondering if they took him home. At some point, he felt his body all sore and his head hurted, then remembered the talk he had with Yonda before, and decided that if someone in his job asked him to drink again, then he would just quit for good. Now, Anne suspected that the drinks were just an excuse because he thought that she planned on doing that right from the start. At his side, also Wes Lena, who told him to not worry about anything and that he could rest all he wanted today. Around him were the three girls, Seung, Lena, and Lin, who explained him that they knew that he fainted because Yunanda told them about his overexertion and pointed that he looked terrible. Seung and Lena felt guilty because they thought that he was like that because they had been pushing him to do training with him without thinking about his well-being. Gang Chan was still trembling, saying that he had no time to be there like that because it was almost the day of the business trip and he had to prepare everything. Lena grabbed him by the shoulder and told him that the doctor told them that he needed to rest, and they told him that today they would take care of him, so he didn't need to worry about TA thing. He wanted to say something, but they didn't let him say anything. However, at the company, Yonda was playing with the pencil and thought about Gang Chan, and feeling guilty, she felt that instead of coming to work, she should have stayed with him to take care of him, although she already finished with today's work. Then some workmates arrived, who asked her to give them 3 more days to finish a work that she gave them because of formatting errors and things that I don't understand. Also, one of them said that since she was new there, she might not be aware of how they did the job. But Yonda interrupted them, saying that he was being ridiculous. She asked him if he thought that she was an idiot who doesn't know programming and commands, and told him that no matter how slow he could be in the program, this was a walk that would take 3 hours as a maximum. She threatened him of writing a bad report about his poor performance and demanded him to get it done. Before the end of the day, the workmonte obeyed, returning to his desk. She let out a light sight, thinking that before that day, a lot of people looked down on her. But after Gang Chan taught her the secrets, he knew about the program they used in the company, and she blushed in the process. Now she was the best in the office and could know when people would try to make excuses to not do their job. She looked at the empty seat Gang Chan left behind for today and decided to take half the day off. She prepared thinking that she could not do all the team's work alone and couldn't trust the girls to take care of him neither. So after a while, she arrived home and called the door. She was wondering what was going on because something was off. The girls were trying to feed him a super healthy soup that was made by them. It was like something took from a horror movie, A Fish of Hell. They wanted him to eat something that looked like poison. They said that he was too old to be a picky eater, so he should just eat it without complaining about that. Yonda saw it all and thought that they were torturing him instead of nursing him. Maybe they wanted to interrogate him like a prisoner of war. I don't know what the cell phone in his ear was doing there, but he certainly didn't want to eat that thing. but Lena put it inside his mouth, and he begged to be killed already now that they looked like they wanted to do that so badly. Lena asked Lin what she was doing. The same I was wondering. She was just putting some healing frequency music that she hoped it could work on him. Yonda felt like she was getting knots in her chest. But then she noticed an open door. It was his room. She decided to enter. She glanced around and noticed that it was all messy. Also, it smelled funny. She was walking around while saying that he had been alone for a long time. But then something called her attention. It was her toy boyfriend that was under Gang Chan's bed. She was all red of shame. She had hid it so good that nobody should be able to find it. What was that thing doing in his room? She couldn't explain or understand the reason why it was in his room of all places. She hid it in her box, and there was a compartment that was not easy to find. It was her secret. Maybe someone spied her through a camera so they could know where it was. She tried to calm down and think. The most reasonable explanation was that while she got drunk and used it, she left that out, and someone found that the idea made her blush in shame. But this was the only logical explanation to this. Despite that, no matter how drunk she could get, she wouldn't do something that stupid. After all, she hasn't used it in a while. Then she thought that maybe this was not his, but could be of his girlfriend. This made her enter in a state of panic. No matter how much she thought about that, this was not something a man should have in his room. Maybe he was into some weird things. She thought that the only and best option she had is to just ask him directly, but she saw that Si-young was torturing him while doing the Walls of Jericho. Lin was putting some healing frequency songs, and Lena was making the soup colder so he could eat it. They were just torturing him while thinking that they were healing him. And also thought that they would just make fun of her if they found out that she used something like that thing. She decided that she was going to find out that without raising any suspicions, she needed to. So although she was not happy about doing something like that, since this was a crime scene, she would turn his computer on and look for some evidence in his secret place, the personal computer. This way, maybe she could get some useful information about him. Right at that moment, Gang Chan entered his room, asking her what in the world she was doing. This scared her. She tried to tell him to not get the wrong idea. She wasn't doing something bad. There was a logical and acceptable reason why she turned his personal computer on. With an angry gaze, he explained that he knew that she was his boss, but invading his privacy by touching his personal computer was wrong. She tried to say that it was nothing that he was thinking about. She then saw the logo of a parody of Team Fortress 4 Region 2. She said that she turned his personal computer on because it looked very nice and wanted to play a game. After all, she didn't do her daily quest either, and apologized, saying that she had to ask him nicely if she could use his computer before turning it on. This was a good explanation. Since he agreed to lend it to her so she could play a bit, she let out a sigh of relief because she was close to be caught. After a while, she tried to play, but her gaming skills were indeed skill issue. He told her that if she kept playing like that, then people would start to curse her. He pointed at all her downsides while playing. Her hands were shaking, and she didn't know what she was doing. After dying several times, Gang Chan asked her how she could have lost to something like that. She was already angry with him for doubting her gaming skills. Then she felt like a wood breaking on her head when he said that she really looked like an alcoholic who was going to get Alzheimer. She asked him then to shut up, and threw his keyboard in his face with all her strength while cursing him. But all this just happened in her mind while she was making a fake smile. And he kept saying that she played it the wrong way and she thought that she could punish him at work later. Right now, the real important thing was to find out what he truly was. Later outside, Si-young was standing there while smoking. Then Yonda arrived with a cigar in her mouth and asked Si-young to light her cigar. She lighted it on and she smoked it. Note again, do never smoke out your life. It is bad and could give you less discounts on Steam. Maybe none. She then asked Si-young out of curiosity only if there were problems going on at home, like Gang Chan annoying everyone or something like that. Si-young told her that it was not the case. Yuanda told her that she had heard that she and him had been having some issue to get along. She then said that she was not good at those stuff, but if there was something that was bothering her, she had to have a serious conversation with him. This mad Yonda think. Si-young said that it was the way she usually solved her problems, so for her it was a good idea. Later at work, she was thinking about what Si-young told her to do. A conversation sounded like a good idea. After all, she couldn't jump into conclusions without asking him first. She was sure that all that was just a misunderstanding of some sort. Then, while looking at him while he worked and drank something, she was wondering how she could casually strike a conversation about something like that. That would be weird. After all, they already had something together. They were already close enough in paper, so maybe she could just ask him. Then she decided to get to the point. She stood up, called his attention, and asked him to talk in private. Just the two of them. She said that it was not about work, it was something personal that they had to discuss with each other. He was wondering what could be happening, since her face was different today and that was scaring him. Maybe it was the gaming incident. She said that she needed him only a second, and it would not be long, so he agreed.